Happy day, one and all. Grindhead Jim coming at you from his channel and this guy's channel. I can't even point in the right direction. Mega J Retro for the first time on the show, and I'm also for the first time on his show. Kind of crazy. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad, Jim. Not too bad. Thanks for inviting me, brother.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, and thanks for being here. Honestly, it was just kind of a whim thing. I messaged him yesterday. I said, "Hey, let's get together and talk toys, talk stuff." Just hang at, as they would say back in Pittsburgh days. So there's not really a format today, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about. In fact, something just came across my email that we can talk about a little bit later. A new Mattel Creations crowdfund for WWE. That's kind of interesting. It's another fan vote, so it's like, are we looking at another Snake Lair situation? Like right away, I'm just assuming that, I'm just assuming someone's going to get mad. They always get mad. I didn't vote for that, not my playset, kind of a thing. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, like, I totally know what you're saying, Jim, yeah, man. Like, there were so many. The whole thing surrounding around over that was just really weird. And I think it would have blown over if it wasn't for the execution, which I thought was great. I thought the execution was great, but I think that it was like everyone throwing in their ideas, and they wanted to give added value, and they wanted to, that's why the huge mechanical snake was was included. I think that there were
too many cooks,
ideas, and they went too far away from the original concept, which Axel Jimenez had presented, and everyone was expecting, and then they got this crazy thing, which was awesome, but at the same time, it was not what people were expecting. I think that was
and these purported price point of $300, I think, was reasonable for the size of the thing that we were going to be getting, and given that it's going to be this made-to-order thing. I think we kind of all expected more of a Snake Mountain Castle Grayskull kind of a value proposition of maybe $200, but that is what it is. We can get into this WWE thing later. I think it's interesting. We'll bring it up if folks want to hear about it. Looks like we've got some folks in chat already. Thanks for watching the show from wherever you are on the internet. I've got Bjorn, who almost always is my first comment, says Schmelblook, as he always does. Looks like we've got Toy Addict over on your side of the house, who also says that the Cat's Lair is in stock at Big Bad.
Yeah, that's my good friend JP over at Thundercats Classics. Yeah, Cat's Lair just went up for pre-order. I can't believe it. $1,000, everybody, $1,000 freaking dollars, and huge shout out to JP for that little tidbit there. That was unexpected, but I'm glad. I'm not like one of these guys who are like, no, that's going to diminish the price. I don't care.
It's not.
I don't really care that it diminishes the price. Who cares? Well, yeah, Jim, if you want, you can throw that up there. I'll show everybody.
Yeah. Whoa. What happened here? Here we go. What? No.
What happened?
See, I'm still learning these controls here. There we go. Boom.
There we go.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. So yeah, if we scroll down from the top, there it is, Cat's Lair. And if we click on this, prepare for sticker shock. $1,000, everybody. That is quite the hefty price. That's $450 more than the MSRP. Like that is a lot of clams.
That's look, I know Big Bad is prone to like raising prices to a certain degree, right?
Okay.
But come on.
Yeah, but get this, Jim. You know how we're always talking. You know how I've been bringing it up. I've been talking about how packaging is a problem. The shipping is a problem.
Right.
Yeah. This does not bode well for my confidence in this. Big Bad Toy Store is well known for their upgraded shipping, right? Their upgraded shipping. They're also really known for their standard shipping. It scares me to no end to see that the only version of shipping available to this Cat's Lair is substandard shipping. What the hell?
So why are you raising,
which is unavailable, but the only thing available is substandard shipping? What? I think that's a mistake, Jim. That's got to be a mistake.
Not to mention the fact that you're getting 150% of the MSRP is the price point, and I got a damaged box, I think that rolls in a different direction where I come from. You know, like for example, we all know that the Eternia you inspected for Titans Toys was mine, and
I mean, we don't all know that. I mean,
that's fair. All right, spoilers, kids.
but let me bring that one up. Let me bring that. Because my viewers don't know that. So Jim, why don't you tell the start of your story, and then I'm gonna jump in where I need to, and then we'll.
Okay, I like that. We'll just hide this for a moment here and go back to the twofer. So, when the Mattel Creations Motu Origins Eternia started shipping out early last year, I really got remorseful about the fact that I wasn't able to get in on the crowdfund when it was up. Just could not get the funds together at the right time in a way that I felt comfortable with. And a funny thing happened between the crowdfund and when it got shipped. I got married, and my wife basically. Thank you. My wife seeing me watch review after unboxing, and getting really like, man, I just sputtering because I really wanted one, and she just asked me a few brief questions. She said, "Okay, do you see the price going down anytime soon?" I says, knowing the way these types of things tend to go, probably not. It's probably gonna, if anything, will spike a little bit and then level off later in the year. But along with that was this concern of buying it not just from Joe Schmo. I wanted to buy it from somewhere that had experience shipping toys and large things. So I went looking all over the place. Just decided eBay was out. I just didn't trust it. Mostly individuals on there as far as I could tell. And search. Find Titan Toys up there in good old Canada. And they had the right price, included tax, and because of a nifty coupon code they were running at the time, I didn't have to pay for shipping either. And I got expedited shipping for nothing on top of the price of the Eternia. So I went ahead, placed the order, and I wait patiently. Eternia went out in 2 waves. They get it in the second wave. I'm starting to see images online very similar to what we're seeing now with the Cat's Lair, of boxes just being gouged and ripped apart and stabbed and what have you. And I was really scared. I was mortified that I was going to get some kind of a just horrible package. And then it finally arrives, practically overnight, once I got coordinated with the guys over at Titan Toys. And to my surprise...
And where is Titan Toys, Jim?
Canada. Right? And
where do you live, Jim?
Texas. It's an important part of the story. It's a good point. Thank you. To my surprise, it arrives flawless. Absolutely flawless. And I put out a video basically telling the story of, like, this was a huge risk my wife supported me on, and against all odds, getting this pristine version of the toy. And then, after I released this video telling the tale and showing the box and the contents, if you will, I get a message on Instagram from the guy right below me. And he had a little bit of insight for me. So why don't you kind of pick up the story from there, sir?
Yeah. So interesting. Like this whole tale is just a tale. This is a cautionary tale, right? This is one of those things where you really have to just put a lot of faith in what was happening around the time, because I mean, like, we were receiving reports everywhere, Jim, much like we're receiving reports now for Cat's Lair, right?
Sure.
So like we were all about what's going to happen, because now boxes are coming in wrecked, boxes are coming in, pieces are coming in missing. People are saying that there were people who were saying that they were missing a peg just to connect the top portion of the tower to the bottom portion of the tower. a lot of people, a lot of people were just very very scared about this whole situation. So um, just prior to my receiving the Eternia, um, I found out about this little situation, and it's crazy because I didn't actually know what was going on behind the scenes. I had no idea. I was just called in basically to Titan Toys, and they said, "Hey, we need to inspect this box for damage, right?" And they said it might be a really cool video to make. And I was like, "Hell yeah, this is a great video to make!" Because again, it was one of those things. I was like, "So where's this thing going?" They're saying this is going to Texas. I'm like, "What?" I was like, "It's coming here to Canada, go all the way to Texas." So yeah, and the client is very very um, nervous about what the state of the box is going to be in. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's crazy." I said, "That's insane." So my good friend Danny Green, who is the logistics manager at Titan Toys, he's like, "I don't want to touch this thing." "I don't want to touch it, just in case." And I was like, "You know what? I'll do it. I don't care, right? I want to see what type of condition this came to Canada. I mean, this is coming from wherever headquarters Mattel is at. I think it's like Pittsburgh or something. I don't know where it is actually, um, but it was coming all the way from down south to come all the way back here, and I was
Mhm.
like, all right, we're gonna have to take a look at this. So it arrived at Titan Toys, and if you head over to TitanToys.com, scroll down until you see "Did Eternia survive the trip?" Yeah, this was my pseudo. I'm gonna say pseudo unboxing, right, of a Eternia playset. And at the time, I didn't know it was Jim's. I had no idea it was Jim's. Um, so there it was. It was in the box, and I was incredibly nervous about this whole situation, because there was just so many reports of it becoming damaged, and there was damage to the box. You know what, Jim?
Yep.
There was actual damage to the box. Like you can see that right here.
Mhm.
Um, and I was very scared. I was very very scared. I was like, okay, this is in rough shape, right? And
Yep.
but and the mailer box is the only thing separating it from the display box, right?
Right.
So I went, I did the deed, and you'll see in a second here. Uh, and I was nervous as hell because this thing's A, heavy as crap. B, gigantic. I mean, like if you look at
Mhm.
if you just look at the size of this thing compared to me, this thing is massive, right, Jim? I mean, this thing is. Look at this.
Yeah.
This thing is like
It's
I had to
insane.
lift my I had to lift my knees because honestly, I'm not young anymore, man. I'm not Jim. We're not young anymore, you know.
No.
There ain't no more
No.
spring chicken left in me, man. Like this is the
Yeah,
fall.
and
Go
it's
ahead.
so big, in fact, that in my office where I have the box sitting, I literally cannot walk in this room without touching it. If you get my drift,
Yeah, yeah.
like I just squeeze by it just to get in here. It's a massive, massive thing, which is good. I love it, but it makes everything else about storing it, transporting it, caring for it much more precarious.
Yeah. And what ended up happening was, the moment of truth came, and I had to open this thing,
Hmm.
basically to inspect it, so that the client, right, who we know now is Jim,
Hmm.
would at least know, because I think at this point everyone was just expecting damage. I think everyone was just expecting damage,
Yeah.
but I wanted to find out just how damaged this was. I wanted to find out what, if any, right? And this was a nerve-wracking moment because there were dents in this thing. There were scratch. Like you can see if you look up at the top, there's a huge compression area right at the bottom, right?
Hmm.
So there was a lot of things going on here, and I literally had to just go on faith and see what was going on. You could even see some compression at the top where there was actually damage. There actually was damage at the top of the box.
Yeah, a little
But
bit
as I
crease.
as I'm lifting it up, I can already tell. I think, Jim, that we got lucky. I think we got, honestly, you beat the odds, Jim. Like
Hmm.
it's
Yep.
alive, Jim. Like seriously,
Right.
like this this is um fast forwarding a little bit. Realistically, it came in immaculate, relatively immaculate shape. What I will say is that in terms of the money shot portion of the box, you literally beat the odds. There was
Yeah,
like I think one tiny blemish on the front of the box. I think that was it.
near a scratch. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
just a tiny. But the artwork itself, gorgeous, absolutely
Hmm.
gorgeous. The only real damage, if any, right? Because like I literally go through the entire box, just um, especially the front. But most of the damage came on the sides and really on the back.
Yep.
The back is really the only portion right there. I'm pointing at it right now. That right on the R, that is really the only blemish on the entire the only real blemish on the entire box. The other one is on the side of the box. So and this came all the way to Canada to go all the way to Grindhead Jim's. Oh, which was
Texas. Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah, and so I get this message from you, where you looked at my video where I ostensibly open the box. I show the whole thing and I open it, and you recognize some of the markings.
Yes, I saw the videos, and I was like, wait a second. I think I've held that box. I'm pretty sure I've touched that box,
Hmm.
right? Because let's see if we can find the moment.
Should be about halfway through.
Yeah, see, there's your lovely wife, and she's
Hmm.
giving you the surprise, and I thought that was really touching. I thought that was a great moment. It was really cool, and and yeah. So I'm looking at this box, and like, wait a second, that looks really familiar, right? Like, let's just go back here, because I'm looking. I'm like, wait a second, I know that sticker. I know those markings, right? So I was literally like, wait a second, I know something's going on here. I know that box. That box is, I've held that box. I know that box. So then, and then you started talking about Titan toys, and I was like,
Hmm.
there's no freaking way, right? There's no freaking way. Um, I think this photo was sent to you by our shipping department. They probably showed you that everything was cool, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then where was it? I think you give credit
Towards the
to,
middle.
yeah. I'm trying
Well,
to
yeah,
find it.
I throw up a Titan Toys logo a little bit later in the story, and I talk a lot about them
Yeah,
throughout the video,
yeah,
because in addition to the inspection and getting their really in good condition, they had built another box around the shipper box with additional reinforcers,
yep,
which they really took that to heart. And
yep.
not every dealer is going to do that.
Yeah, you can thank our the logistics manager, Danny Green. He made that happen. Like that's all Danny. Like if you guys probably have seen Danny on the Titan Toys videos, you've probably seen him on my toy hunts at
Hmm.
San Diego Comic Con. Danny is instrumental in terms of like sending out packages from Titan Toys. So huge shout out to Danny because
Yeah,
he
thank
literally
you,
made it
Danny.
happen,
Like really.
right? And then you proceed just to to go in and when I saw the type, like when I saw the packaging with with the tape on it, I was like, I saw that the other day when it was coming out. I was like, that's definitely Danny's handiwork right there, right? So I knew what it was, and then when you started, where is it right here? When you started moving over to the actual unboxing, right? And actually, you see it right there. It's a what's it called? It is. You can see it's actually reconstructed by several other boxes, right? It
Yeah.
says Pure Arts on the side. It says a whole bunch of different um, markings, right? So
Hmm.
that's how you know that this thing was reconstructed to be purpose built and purpose shipped out, right?
Yep.
So then when you started
And
opening it, that's when I was like, all right, I know this box. I know exactly what's going on here. And I had not opened the box like outside of inspecting it, and it's
right.
weird too because this doesn't have any tape on it, Jim. It was really weird that they didn't actually seal it with any tape. You know what I mean?
There was on the sides actually.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, but the front
Yeah,
flap,
because yeah, nope, the front flap nothing, but
yeah.
the sides, because you'll see, because if you go back just a couple of seconds
No, I
there.
know, but what I mean
Yeah.
is, even though it's got tape on the sides here, when you want to open it, there is no restriction for opening. Like I know that this is to keep the front flap attached.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you can't quite see, but there is a tiny bit of tape towards the back that I actually had to cut, which is why
Okay, I got you.
why
I
that
got
footage is sped up, because I actually did have to cut.
I
But it's
got
so far back that you could
you. Yeah,
almost open the box, at least
I
from
got you.
on mine anyway, which is
I got
crazy.
you. Got you. Yeah, but other than that, I'm so glad it got to you, Jim, and that you know, you were able to get it intact. And again, for the most part, uh, nary a blemish on on the box itself, which was a huge thing for me. You know what I mean? I was really
Yeah,
hugely grateful that that actually happened. And of course, huge shout out to Titan Toys for
100%.
you know, taking care of the package. I mean, like, I dare say they took did better care of it than Mattel did. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, no question, no question. You know that when you're in the business of reselling, in essence, especially where it comes to you and then goes to a customer, any business that does that, the onus is on that business to make sure things arrive in good condition. And with Big Bad, the packaging is typically okay. It's never like over the top awesome, but I've never gotten something that's just been demolished. Right, I've never had that happen. Unlike certain other companies that begin with an E and end with a H, and are two words and rhyme with mentertainment mirth. I won't do business with them for that reason.
mhm.
But the thing is, you know, Big Bad kind of being the standard, if you will, in North America, kind of like they're kind of one of the first. So when Titan Toys comes up, they're a newer company, and I think any new business, you know, you have to, if you can't necessarily compete on price, maybe you want to compete on ease of service or level of service. And I think what they excel at the most is their shipping, because that just seems to be kind of one of their marks of trade, so to speak, which is great. And I cannot thank them enough. I think of them every day when I come in and out of this office. I think of you every time I look at that box, you know, and it's a really, really special thing. You know, my collection is just every wall in my place. I look at something that I've collected, whether it be a piece of physical media, a toy, paperwork, a poster, whatever it is. And I can always attach it to some kind of memory, whether that be nostalgia, whether that be a story around its acquisition, or who it came from, or who inspired it. And I have a philosophy. If I can't point at something in my room and tell you why I have it, it doesn't deserve to be here. That's the way I look at it. Now, granted, that hasn't helped me lower my collection size by any stretch of the imagination. I am getting into that realm of not enough space, too many toys. And I want to bring up a comment here from chat. We'll bring up many, but this one's funny. This one from Ryan over on your channel says, marriage is a highly overrated institution. I'm on my third, so I get it. And Ryan says, my basement's full of Motu dioramas. No way I could do that if I was married. I'm going to call BS on that. Because my wife and I, we're moving to Oregon later this year. This is where she's from. We already have a townhouse we own free and clear. And we're converting a 2-car garage, not side by side, but lengthwise. Okay, so it's longer, into my toy room. And she has said, we need to buy a bigger house to get a bigger toy room. And she will not accept no for an answer. Okay, it's a question of finding the right partner that supports you regardless of what's happening.
I agree.
And that was before she started collecting. So
Yeah, I agree. Interesting that you're moving from Texas to Oregon, though. That's quite a distance, Jim. Holy crap! I mean,
well, I'm not from here. I'm not originally from Texas at all. I actually moved here from Iowa, which I'm not from either. Like, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. So having grown up in a military family, I'm used to moving around. And we originally were going to settle here. We really love Texas. We love living here. But we have family up there. And just, there's a lot of things about the climate that I'm leaning more towards in Portland, like no 107 degree days Fahrenheit up there, you know, sort of a thing. It just makes more sense for us in the long term.
sure.
And
You don't have
it
to
doesn't
explain
hurt to not have to pay rent. That will be nice.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That's always a good thing. Wow,
Absolutely.
the chat's exploding. There's a lot of
Yeah.
great comments.
Yeah, we should call some of these out. So I'm going to scroll to the top here and just kind of go through some. If I miss somebody, I apologize. And Jay, if you see something you want me to bring up that I pass by, let me know. I see Rhea Black is here, and Also, Max Games and Toys, who's waiting for the Fright Zone from Origins. I would be willing to bet that that's coming very, very soon.
Yeah,
It's been heavily rumored that
yep.
it's
There's
coming soon.
a lot of people are reporting on the fact that it might have been seen at Spiel von Messe, uh, the um, the German toy show. So
Hmm.
you never know.
Yeah, it's just a question of how we're going to get it. Do I think it's going to be a retail release? I don't. I think it'll be a crowdfund. Um, I would love for it to be a fan channel retail release. That would be amazing.
That would be
Even
great.
better if it went on retail shelves, but I don't think it will. And we'll talk more about the state of things as we move forward.
Sure.
Ryan also wanted to remind people to promote the Kickstarter for Fall of Grayskull 2.
Yes. Yes. Thank you,
Oh,
Ryan.
you started a new one?
Yeah. Let me throw that up there for a really quick second. You guys can have
Please
a quick
do.
look. Yeah. So
I was not even aware that they had another fundraiser going, which I'm glad. Very grateful for that.
absolutely. Daniel Benedict is actually relaunching. If you want to throw this one up there, he's actually
Yeah.
relaunching the Fall of Grayskull 2, and I think I can talk about it. The official relaunch will probably happen in and around PowerCon slash Toylanta. So
Smart.
Toylanta, which I'm going to be at. I'm going to be at Toylanta this year. So if anybody
Awesome.
wants to talk about the Fall of Grayskull 2 and everything that's happening, by all means, come by the booth. And Daniel's going to be there. Daniel actually has his own table, and he's going to be talking about the show. He's probably going to show some props. Maybe even bring some of the cast. I don't know. But it'll be great to see Daniel there and talk to him about the whole idea. He's also, as I understand it, I can't confirm this 100%, but as I understand it, they're going to rescreen the Fall of Grayskull 1,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it's going to be re-edited and recut for a new director's sorry, it's a new cut. It's not a director's cut. It's a new cut, which Daniel feels is better. It's a better cut.
Okay.
So definitely, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm so grateful that with what happened with the last fundraiser, I think it was a timing thing with the last one.
So it was very much a timing thing, but it was also. I don't think Daniel realized that he should reach out to us. He should reach out to Toy Tubers. He should reach out to everybody who's a Motu fan, and try and get it done. I think that very very much he thought that many of the previous donors and supporters would help along the way, and that it would gain traction along the way. But unfortunately, at the time and the economy that we're in, you really gotta push. You can't
Yeah.
leave stuff to fate and to fans. You just can't do that. You really got to tell everybody this is happening. We're doing something, right? You gotta do that. And I think it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances that not enough of us figured it out fast enough. I found out
Right.
about halfway through the campaign, and I thought, okay, they haven't reached out to anybody, so they must be okay. And then when it was actually it was actually a couple of it was actually a couple of the staff, the cast and crew, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you mind talking about this?" And I was like, "Oh crap, no one's talking about this." So I was like, "No, we got to talk about this, right?" So Johnny and Newt basically reached out to me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they were like, we would appreciate it if you did something. I was like, yeah, I'll do a live stream. And I went on with the cast, and to their credit though, they raised $85,700. I mean, it's not a short amount of that's not a short amount of funds. That's rather
That's great. It's a hell of a good start for a budget of a film.
it is. But again, it was all or nothing. So unfortunately, that all went
Right.
for naught. But this time around, with this advance notice, I'm trying to get a lot of toy tubers involved. Yourself, myself,
Sure.
my habits. Geek Dead Life. Anybody who's willing to just give a shout out. I really want to help raise awareness of this second time around.
Absolutely.
So that's a big. It's a big deal for me because, as everybody knows, I'm still not 100% convinced about this new movie. I'm not. I mean, I did a video the other day about how I can see a tiny glimmer of hope here. It's a
Yeah.
really tiny glimmer of hope, though. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not convinced. I'm seriously not. So
I'm hoping against hope that these scenes we're seeing on Earth are either a dream sequence or just a tiny little piece of what's happening, and in a way, kind of like not necessarily a red herring of a leak, but I would not be surprised if it were, because if they're filming on, say, like a volume where everything's in a studio, you've got the LED panels and everything, which I think would probably be the easiest way to film on Eternia, and is in keeping with like current things as far as like techniques and whatnot. If they're doing that, well, that's a closed set. No one's getting in there. So of course, if they are filming outside on a street, of course there's photography going to happen and a leak. So there's always a possibility that this is kind of a red herring or an inside joke or just a tiny piece of the film. But we don't know that for sure.
So I've got a conspiracy theory to share with everybody.
Tinfoil, let's go.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's shout out a few more people before we do that, because I'll hold on to that thought, and because this was a funny one. People laugh at me all the time, but I
okay.
Almost.
So I got Giraffe over on my channel, says Snake Lair. Fingers crossed there's news at the end of the Mattel Creations event on the 6th. I'm really curious to see what Mattel Creations is coming out with this. There's a few things that I think are slam dunks that they might announce, but it does feel like they're kind of not slowing down, but they're diversifying their Motu offerings outside of Origins, the main line, for a few reasons. I think that the lines themselves, all of them need to get equal push. I think that's only fair. Masterverse collectors need their dues. I think Panther was an easy get. And I see Cartoon Collection's going to be getting some stuff through creations and so forth. And I think that's fine. It needs to happen. And especially this year, being the She-Ra anniversary, I think we're going to see more stuff in that direction, which of course would be rooted in the Cartoon Collection, which has already been announced. So I'm sure they'll give us some kind of an update on the Snake Lair, but do not be surprised if it gets skipped this year in favor of something more She-Ra related. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And that's where I think Fright Zone kind of is a good crossover, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I can't say with any certainty myself. We also got Rhea Black says hi. We see Nolan saying hello. And we see Guy Dorian. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the show. Jason G, my buddy. Giraffe bringing up the Thundercats Cat Slayer says he heard it comes with bonus stuff offered in the crowdfund. No idea for sure. He's not big into Thundercats collecting, so that would be interesting. If it came with some more exclusive stuff, that might slightly justify the markup, but I don't know that for sure.
I don't think it's listed at all. Let's I'll while you're reading out the other ones, I'll do a quick scan.
You got it.
If there's anything there.
Yeah, and Toy Addict says, how would we know the condition of the boxes? Exactly. There's no way to know until you get it, right? I wish that stores like Big Bad would be able to show you that when they say it's substandard. Well, what exactly do you mean? With $1,000 you want me to put down on something, you better show me what's up. Shout out to Chad Stewart and Max Games and Toys again, who asks, do you think Mattel will bring us the Snake Mountain Master that we saw in Phantom New Eternia? Possibly. I mean, anything's possible at this point. In a world where Frogmonger exists, anything is possible in this toy line. They've taken some interesting zigs and zags throughout the life of this renewed Motu, so anything is possible. I put nothing past anything. So, Giraffe bringing up some questions about the shipping. That's a great question. I don't know how much they would charge. Erwin Papa is here. Who else? Johnny Source says, hello, what's this then? What's all this? It's a live stream, my friend, who is joining us from completely across the pond, out in New Zealand, Australia land, out in that area. So it is a crazy time for him right now. Whatever, 17 hours difference. I don't know what that means. It means something. Boba Hicks coming in from Ireland says hello everyone with a clover there. Thank you.
King Panther
says to Jay, Happy Wednesday. Would like a Hellskull playset with an anti-battle cat, light up features, and anti-Tila character for Origins.
That
Um,
so Noel, that would be incredible if. But the thing is that barely any of us know who Anti-Eternia He-Man is, unless you read the comic books, right? Unless you read that arc that was
Right.
done by the Marvel comics, and that's actually why when He Skeletor came out, I think a lot of us were like, "What the hell is this?" Like a lot of people
yeah.
did not know what He Skeletor was, and they didn't even do, in my opinion, anyway. They didn't even make him right. He doesn't have the right. He doesn't have the right indica on his chest. He doesn't have this. The cross. The cross is the wrong way. If anything, they
Right.
should turn it sideways. So unless you really know about Anti-Eternia He-Man, then bringing out Castle Hellskull is, although it's gorgeous. I mean, Castle Hellskull is just a gorgeous piece. You know what I mean? It looks like a vampire castle. You know what I mean? It can be it can double as so many different play sets for so many different action figure sets. But I just don't see it. I can't really see it. I think it would
especially in a world where we were all dumbfounded that Anti-Eternia He-Man became part of the retail wave instead of being a Mattel Creations, because that's a pretty niche figure. It's a deep dive, and the only reason I even know anything about him is because I have a friend who's from Germany. I was like, oh, and he was really excited about it. And I was like, well, tell me about it. He told me, and I said, that's cool. I'm glad they have it, but that didn't sell that well. You can still get a discounted version of him for around $9 on Big Bad right now, 2 years later, right? So in that world, and then He Skeletor didn't sell that great.
No,
I don't think that this is that kind of alternate universe stuff is gonna sell. And if it doesn't sell, they don't want to make it.
It's a good idea. It's a great idea, and I love the design, but I just can't see it going into, definitely not to retail. And Mattel Creations would be a stretch. It would have to be crowdfunded. It would have to be crowdfunded. And sorry, go ahead, Jim. Go.
No, I'm just basically saying I don't think it makes good business sense for Mattel, because I don't think it's popular enough to warrant any of this stuff. Now, I would love to be wrong, and I want people to have what they like, but I don't see it either.
No, I can't see it. But just being pedantic or realistic. I can't see it. I just can't.
Absolutely.
I want to see it.
Of course, I want to see everything made flesh. Like the Eternos Palace, like that 3D printed one, that is just beautiful, and I keep meaning to purchase the plans for that.
Mr. Home Arcade is insane. This
thing is ridiculous.
It is gigantic. And Jim,
oh my god!
Oh my god! If you decide to do a Jim, definitely get it in your garage, because there's no else there's not enough room in your place.
Well, exactly, and the whole thing is that right now, when I look at the layout of the garage that we'll be converting, there's a specific table I'm looking at that's 4 foot by 4 foot square. And I'm getting 3 or 4 of those, and that's going to be where Motu land, basically. And then I'm going to get a bunch more of these shelves and just blanket the place, right? And I'm also going to have a maker space in there. I have a 3D printer. I'll probably get another one. Maybe also a raw resin printer as well, and just let those kind of live on the other side, so that you can build it in the space where it's going to be displayed.
Sure.
Right? Makes way more sense. Because I know myself. If I print this on any other floor of the house, as soon as I start walking it down the stairs, I watch enough fail videos that karma will catch up instantly, and I will fall down the stairs, and Eternos will go boom.
Please
we don't want
that. Please don't say that.
We don't want that. We don't want that. So
please don't say that.
TNT Skate says, I have to get the fire department to cool down my Motu Origins addiction. You ain't wrong. I'm the same way. Jody Becky says hi as well. Giraffe asks if you left a note in the box. No, he didn't know that the Eternia was coming to me.
I had no idea. And I would have said, hey, what's up, Jim?
Right.
I would have left something, but I had no idea.
Oh,
when I saw it, I was just so shocked, and I was like, holy crap! So I had to message Jim right away.
And that was a fun morning, just going back and forth, and every little something you may not know. If I'm feeling ever down, because managing my collection has become a real chore lately.
Yeah,
Because there's just so much of it, right? But when I feel down, I go back and I listen to that voice exchange between the two of us to remind me what that spark is like when something really special and serendipitous happens, right?
that's
So
so
it's like, if that moment can exist, everything else is worth it, right?
Sure.
So, seeing some comments related to my wife and how awesome she is, you're right, she is.
Cheers.
Yes, yes.
Unicorn, my
And
friend. That is what we call a unicorn. That is
yes,
unicorn.
indeed. I am Jay says my solution for quote too much stuff unquote. I store my toys in acid-free bags from Wave One collectibles filed in generic drawers. Then I rotate displays of properties in and out modular case wall. I also have archival acid-free bags that I have stored many things in. That's a practice I will continue for now. The goal is to just have the biggest possible space and never have to rotate. And I know it's a pipe dream, but it's my pipe dream,
Yep.
and I'm going to do it.
It was good from our good friend Matt Hatter. I love his he had an interview not too long ago, and what he said there was like space is the enemy of all collectors, and he's right.
Oh yeah,
it's the ultimate.
100%. Because even when you have a lot of space, sometimes the space you have doesn't format properly for what you have to put in it. Right? So like this shelf back here that is tall that has all the play sets on it. Well, not all of them because Eternia is still in the box. It was designed with the height of Snake Mountain in mind. That's it. And I just wanted everything to be equal. Now when I go over to this shelf that has my superpower stuff on it, there's all this wasted space vertically. So I am going to have to break out of my need for symmetry and for things to be the same and really start building these shelves with the specific toy lines in mind. It'll be more dynamic, it'll be more fun, but it'll drive my OCD wild. It's all right, though. Nerd Affiliated says, hey, and no one asks where in Oregon. Portland area. So we'll be going up there and visit. There's some great toy stores up there. I can't wait to make friends with people and start new relationships with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was at Applejack's when I was in. It wasn't Portland though. Sorry, you're going to Portland? I thought you were going to Ohio or.
Oregon,
yeah,
Oregon the state,
Oregon.
Portland the city,
Okay.
Portland, Oregon. Right. You know, there's a
The
thing.
Oregon Trail.
I mean.
Don't die
You
of
have
dysentery,
died of don't dysentery on the way. Exactly.
Don't die of dysentery, Jim. Please.
No, I will not.
Don't die, Jim. Don't die.
Survive! Saying hello to Mother Slug and Epic Badger, who's going to be watching on a replay. Thank you. I see Mike Fee says hello. Hello.
Hi.
That's right. Yes. Pedro Lopez says hello. Hello to you as well. And I think, nope, we got more. We got Hylian Dread, and I'll get to these comments here. I just want to say hi to everybody first. Shao Kahn and Gotatron. And I think we're caught up with saying hello to everybody.
Good.
Yes. You had something else to bring up here, did you not?
If you're done going through things, we can. But
We'll go through more comments and come back.
If you want to bring up a couple more comments, like again, I got everything lined up, Jim. I'm good to go.
Aye.
Lots loaded, Jim.
Yes. So Ryan says that he hopes at least the Amazon movie brings in new fans and reignites interest in what we love most about Motu, which is toys. I think that it will, and I think it's a good time to do that. I did a video, I think it wasn't last year, but the year before. And it was, hey, if you're just starting out collecting Origins, is there even a point to it? Is it possible? Of course there is.
Of course.
Because if you go on Big Bad and you go on other places, you can get Wave 1 stuff for a decent price. It's not hard. You'll have to look a little harder, but it's out there. And I'm interested to see what kind of toys they do tie in with the new movie. I'm very interested to see. But I don't claim to know. So we'll figure it out as time permits.
Yes,
when
yes,
the
yes.
toys come out. I think Masterverse would make the most sense, but who knows? Maybe we'll get Origin stuff too, which would be bizarre, but more Origins is more Origins, right?
It's right now it's still the most popular line, but Masterverse makes much more sense.
Yeah. Just in the sense of like when you're trying to recreate something that lives in 3 dimensions, in real life, you want something that is more detailed,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Yes, we've had some of the Origin stuff kind of cross over with that, and I saw something not long before our stream that I'll bring up now because it's kind of right in keeping with that. I just gotta pull it up here. Was not prepared. There we go. Here, let me just share the screen. Nope, not that.
Shao Kahn, yes, we like. I've done my share of thrifting, um, and I do have a really cool Motu find. Go ahead, Jim. What? That's
Oh yeah,
awesome. That is freaking
yeah.
awesome.
So this is something that this is for the German retro toy show, Toy Explosion. So this is a exclusive, and I guess it's exclusive to this event, but I don't know that for certain. It does. The pre-orders go live on their site Sunday, March 2nd. And it's a shock trooper based upon the 87 film.
Holy crap.
My reaction to this was ew, because I don't want it. But for those that do want it, that's great. I'm glad it exists. For sure. I think it's someone wants it. It just is.
I might need that, Jim.
I get it.
I might need
I
that.
get it. I get it,
I
bro.
might need.
You know,
need that.
I don't need more troop
I
builders.
might
I
ask.
don't.
I might beg a few German friends to get that for me. I might need that.
Right? If this were here, and that's the thing, because it's exclusive, I kind of told myself, just don't even worry about it. Because if I try to convince myself that I should get it because it's a completionist thing, I've said I'm retail complete because I know I can't always get the other stuff. But for those that want it, I hope you get one. Doesn't look good, but it looks like it's there. It's going to be very difficult to get. Catching back up with chat here, we can talk about this a bit deeper. He says that Giraffe doesn't care where the story takes place for the new He-Man film. He just wants the story to be decent, the action to be semi-decent, and the transformation scene to be booming. And if he gets that, he's happy.
So I'll be the first one to say that I adore the 1987 film, and there are not a lot of people who agree with me, and that's fine. I'm 100% on board with everyone who says Earth was, and I agree. Earth is the weakest connection for any movie which is based on a fantasy world.
Yeah.
But do I understand why they did it? Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Hollywood, which multi-million-dollar films are not cheap, and Mattel tried to do this on their own once upon a time. They, that was just stupid. They know nothing about the movie industry. They don't know how much it costs, right? And from all the stories and all the behind the scenes, we know that Gary Goddard actually had to break into the studio to finish the film. That is what I call dedication. The man just at least wanted to have a decent ending, and you know what? He damn well did it, right? And those are my favorite scenes. The scenes on Eternia, they are my absolute favorite scenes. But do I feel that Courtney Cox's performance was great? Yeah, I loved her performance.
Yeah,
I loved Robert Duncan McNeil, who went on to have a great Star Trek career. You know what I mean? Like I loved all the performances. Lubick makes a freaking cameo appearance Lubick, Mr. Strickland. Sorry, I meant Mr. Strickland makes a cameo appearance as Lubick. James told
and even more of a deep cut. It's Back to the Future 2, Mr. Strickland.
Yes, it's
well.
true. That's true. It's actually Sheriff. No, sorry, you're right. It is Back to the Future 2, Mr. Strickland with the shotgun and that kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it is even further back. It is Sheriff Strickland, Marshall Strickland from Back to the Future 3, right? Again, he's James Tolkien plays the same character every single freaking. He's like Samuel L. Jackson, but he does it so well. We all love him for it. Man is the man.
I mean, he made me scared. Like I was never in the Navy, despite being in the U.S. Marines. People say it's the Department of the Navy, which technically it is. I was never in the Navy.
Sure.
But even as a child, before I was in the Marines, I was always scared that he would catch me and make me fly a plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. Like I was always worried about that. because of his role in Top Gun.
Yeah, that was always fun. Again, he's been typecast as like a hard nosed individual, and it was great to see him in a kids film. As far as I'm concerned.
Oh, for sure. And with this shock trooper that they've announced for Germany, to me, if you're going to do a figure like that based on that movie, then you should just go all in, right? I think they should just do a whole wave of the '87 movie and get it out of their system. I think that's probably what they should do.
I'm with you, Jim. But as this is a like being from the inside looking out now, right? I know how much it costs to make a figure like this. Like it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
No, it's not
right?
cheap.
So they probably just made the minimum quantity order. It's probably 1,000 pieces, and anyone who gets this thing is probably very lucky to get it. So.
Right. And I think that's, if you're going to do an exclusive and it's based on the '87 movie, this one makes the most sense simply because it's probably the least desirable character. So to unless they did Courtney Cox's character or something.
But as you mentioned in the beginning, is this one of the greatest army builders? Well, that will never be. Because how many of these you really can't army build this guy? There's just no freaking way. You'd be lucky to get one.
and to make them bigger, like if you look at the, let me see if I can open this in another tab. Hang on. There we go. We'll just swap this out. Get him a little bigger. So, looking at his parts, there's some recycling, but not a lot.
No,
this is a lot of new armor. That's a new head for sure.
Yeah, this one's a tough one, and I think they're probably all going to be 3D. In my opinion, I think they're all going to be 3D printed, which is great. You know what I mean? They're all probably resin. He's probably heavy as crap. And you know what? It's all about, but you're not going to really play with this guy. There's no way. I mean, he's going to cost a ton of money. Like, did they mention how much he's going to be? I imagine he's going to be like $60.
It was not said. All it says is oh shit, they're limiting it to 50 units. 50.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's not like it's again the outside looking in. These are 3D printed. There's no way anyone can actually pick one of these up. This thing is incredibly rare, right? Incredibly rare. There's just no way that this can be mass produced without some help, right?
Oh, hang on. It does say that this is done in the style of the vintage figures.
Yeah,
so if we go back to the zoomed in, no articulation, which would make more sense.
It makes more sense.
Yeah, so it's hard to see, but I don't see any joints here. So
if that's what if Ken is saying that that it's in the style, that's what he means. He means that there's no joints. He means that the arms move up, the legs are probably on a dumbbell joint, and that's it. So, and the head moves.
Yeah. And so now this makes a lot more sense because I just completely glossed over the possibility that this was something that was that specific. I suppose the question that because this is something that they didn't make this in the vintage line, as I recall. They didn't do a shock trooper for the vintage line, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
So this is kind of like that. Here's your dream figure. You get 50 of them.
The only Master Universe movie figures that have been released are Gwildor, Blade, and Sarad. And then you can argue Laserlight Skeletor was supposed to be a movie figure, and Laser Power Skeletor and Laserlight He-Man were supposed to be the movie tie-ins.
Right.
So that's the argument that can be made. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So adding this guy to the collection would be great for the vintage, right? It would be amazing.
Yeah. Right? But if they go Origins with this, which I don't know, maybe they do that. I'm curious if this is kind of like, let's see if there's a buzz around this, and then maybe they'll do it. But they as hell didn't. They didn't wait for us to get excited about Koldar. They just threw him out completely by surprise when he came out, and I think that was a testing ground for the cartoon collection as well. So when that went up for Mattel Creations exclusive, like there wasn't any like big hoopla. He just popped up, and I was on my way out of town when it happened. I just managed to get him and a lot of my friends, it just went. Zip. This is back in the old days of Mattel Creations, right? Kind of nuts. So I don't like trying to speculate about what they're going to do because there's been so many zigs and zags with what they've been doing that I'm not saying it's impossible to predict, but it's really difficult at this point because we're not in on those conversations at all.
Yeah, no, but you know what? At the very least, we can say that the future of Master Universe looks brighter than it did like a year ago.
Oh, for sure.
You
There's
know,
no question about that.
so you know, there's a lot of things to go forward. Um, yeah. So, do we have any other highlighted comments we wanna tackle first?
Melvor from the Game Chasers, my buddy, my partner in crime,
Hey,
says,
Melvor. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
I miss.
Melvor actually.
I wanted to
Go
meet
ahead.
Melvor when once upon a time because the Game Chasers were up here in Canada for a while, and Melvor did not come. He didn't
Right.
show up.
He was asleep. He was asleep. That's all.
I was like, dude, I want to meet that guy because he was doing Toy Chasers at the time, the very first episode, and I was like, dude, I want to meet Melvor. He's always been a cool part of the crew there. So good to see you,
Absolutely.
Melvor.
Do you know my connection to the Game Chasers?
Yours? No, I really I haven't. I didn't know yet. I didn't even know there was a connection.
They did a movie, Adventures in Game Chasing, a couple years back. I'm in that movie, and
Oh,
I'm one
cool,
of the main supporting cast. Yeah,
cool. That's awesome, dude.
and it was because of that possibility. Talking to Redneck Chris, he was the one that got me to move up here from Houston, so I'm here because of that. So one could argue, were it not for the film, and Chris asked me to come up here, I met my wife at a wedding of people that I met here in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. So it's like the Game Chasers kind of pushed me in this direction.
That is
It's kind of
hilarious.
cool.
That is
Kind
awesome.
of cool. And Melvor was actually here when we got the keys to our place here. Walked in with us, and like I have a video of it, and he's talking in the background and shit.
That's
My
cool.
first picture of my toys in this room was with him. So Melvor's family to me, for sure.
Well, Melvor, I'm shocked. You know me. What the? Melvor's hilarious, man.
Yeah. Well, you were in an episode of the show as well.
I was. A lot of people don't know that that I was in an episode,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun. And you know what? Fun fact: they didn't know how valuable. I think Jay knew. I think Jay knew, or even Billy. I think Billy knew. I think they knew just how valuable Magic Knight Rare Earth was. But I had always intended to give it to them. It was one of those, it was doing nothing for me. I was just literally it was just sitting there and I wanted them to have it, like, to be honest with you. And it was another way for me to sneakily get into an episode that because there was my only chance to get into an episode, and I really wanted to do it. So my good friend Jay of JKB, he actually brought them over, and actually, I met Pat there, and I also met Rue too. What happened to Rue? Like he decided that,
He
you know what, civilian life is his thing.
That's that's the story that I got.
Yeah,
Like he's around, but he's just
yeah,
not
of course.
participating at the level
You
that he
know what?
once
I
did.
miss. I miss Clan of the Grey Wolf. I really do.
Yeah.
I thought that like his 8-bit gems was like something I always look forward to. I really miss.
Hmm.
I really miss it. I miss it a lot. So it's kind of funny because, like, when RetroWire TV got sold to Screenwave, I thought, God, what an end of an era. Like, what an end of an era, man. Like, and now it's become this thing. I don't know what it is anymore. Like they've shelved all their old episodes. I was so sad for that. You know what I mean? And I know there's always been problems with RetroWare, and it's like nothing's perfect, right? But at the end of the day, it's sad that entire archive of videos, for the most part anyway, a lot of them are gone, right? They kept like a good majority of them, but a lot of the ones that are, are key are kind of missing. Yeah, Jay's awesome. He's got embroiled with a freaking flame war, and then and that is just another thing. I don't want to get into that. Like, holy crap. A Review Tech USA, like, that's just another big mess. But Jay is a great friend, and he's always been a really great reviewer. It's really too bad that he decided to put his YouTube career on hold to help somebody else, and then that ended up being just this whole huge mess. I don't know, we're not here for that. But Melvor,
Right.
dude, we gotta meet up, brother. Like seriously, I like if I'm ever in Texas, which I don't know if I'll ever be in Texas, but it'll be awesome to meet Melvor. I wanted to meet Melvor, right? Like you could ask Jay and Billy. I said, hey, where's Melvor? Like that's actually one of the things
Yep.
I asked. I asked. Where's Melvor?
That's probably the number one biggest FAQ anywhere they go. Honestly, that's always you hear it at least 20 times a day. Where's Melvor? Where's Melvor? And we always answer that he's asleep. We just say he's asleep because there's like at least a 50% chance, like 51% chance it's true. Because odds are, it's just like, where's Dodongo? He's probably drinking a Bud Ice. Same thing. He's probably drinking a Bud Ice. Yeah, and I love him to death too. It's been one of the coolest experiences of my life living here and being around those cats. They are exactly who you think they are. They're a lot of fun to this day. And even though we're moving up to Oregon, we plan to come back here with some regularity. Yeah, so maybe we could coordinate and do a trip where we all get there at the same time and hang out with the boys.
Even at any convention, because like I go to SDCC a lot. I go to a whole bunch of places, and I know there's not a lot of video game hunting in those areas, right? But there's a lot of toy hunting, right?
There's both. I mean, when it comes to video game hunting, there's places to go. But the people that find a spot, they're really kind of the person you want to talk to about that stuff these days would probably be Chris, because he's got kind of the lowdown on a lot of that stuff. But there's places to go for sure.
Yeah, again, I would love to see those guys again. It's been it's been years, and it's great that everyone's careers have moved to different situations, but it's always great to see how people have evolved, right? I want to meet Retro Rick one day. You know what I mean? Like I love his channel. His channel's freaking crazy.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
real good dude.
Yeah, I mean, and huge shout out to him for completing his NES collection. Like that is massive, right?
Yeah, and I take the same approach with every collection. I don't have to have everything. I have to have the stuff that I want, which sometimes is everything, but it isn't for me with stuff. I have the heavy hitters. And then I say that, and then someone comes over to my house, and they're like, "Why the fuck do you have Jack Nicklaus Golf?" And I was like, "Well, because a buddy gave it to me, and it was really kind because I was moving into a new place, and I was really sick, and he just carried all my stuff in, and then gave me a Nintendo game. So that's why I have it."
You can't get any better than that, Jim. You can't get any
no, you sure can't. But we have this other thing to share here, and we've caught up more or less with everybody, and thank you all for being here.
Sure.
So what is this here?
Well, you know what? Before I get let me get to that in a second. But I did want to talk about my conspiracy theory really quick. So remember how earlier you were saying that that you think that this might be a red herring, maybe an inside joke, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to share a little bit about that. Dumois must have been given access to be on the set because those pictures are way too close to be leaked. Okay,
right?
In high resolution, right. Like most leaked pictures I see are from across the street or at somebody's like apartment all the way up. And they're blurry, they're fuzzy, you know what I mean? Those, I'll believe 100% that those are leaked photos. This one, they were across the street, man. They were like literally right there. So
that was my thought too, because this is what I would call guerrilla marketing, where you let them do it for you.
Exactly, because what it does is it gets us fans like hyped up, and it's gonna be polarizing. Right? Because if you look at any of the comments on my video, people are losing their minds, right? Either they're hyped up for it, like 100%, or they're like, this is going to be the worst movie ever, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
But I have another conspiracy theory to that.
Okay.
Do you remember seeing the first version of Sonic the Hedgehog commercials that came out almost a year
ago? Oh, yeah, when the CG, it was all like, oh, God! Like.
Do you know how much hype they got from that?
A lot.
Do you know how do you know how many fans literally said, I will never watch this movie if they don't change it to the right Sonic? Right. Let me tell you something, okay, Jim? And this is just a conspiracy theory that I have, and no one wants to believe me, but I tell you right now, Hollywood's getting smarter. They're getting clever. They in my opinion, in my conspiracy theory, they put that thing out on purpose. They put out that version of Sonic the Hedgehog just to get people pissed off and say, I will never watch this fucking film. And you know what? Don't tell me that they redid all the CGI. You can barely get them to redo anything from Marvel movies these days. They just don't have the money. Why would they spend that much money to redo Sonic from scratch? No, they had always intended to have Sonic as the blue blur that we know him now, right?
Yep.
Because they know. Do you think somebody actually put a green light onto that crap, whatever the hell that was? That AI generated whatever the heck that is. That thing is a nightmare. That thing was a nightmare, an absolute
Okay,
freaking
so
nightmare.
so do we apply that same theory to say the Green
That's what
Lantern
I'm saying.
costume?
That's what I'm saying. What, like, how many movies do you know get this much hype a year out, right before, like, like no one else is talking about Master Universe. Now all of a sudden, because of all these things, right, the controversy behind them, all the everybody's talking about the cast, everybody's talking about the locations. He's in freaking what's it called? He's in Oklahoma, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
And they're changing the narrative, because the narrative up to this for the last couple of years has been it's never going to happen, and it's like it just keeps getting jostled around. So now that they're really making it, they're like, how do we get this into people's mouths? Like the opposite of what happened at the Oscars with Chris Rock and Will Smith. Get our movie's name the fuck in your mouth. We want you to talk about it, right? Like a reverse slap, right? And it's smart. It's just really, really smart. If that is indeed true, this is a theory that I happen to share with you. I think it's absolutely.
I'm only talking about Sonic. I don't exactly know what's happening with this one, right? Because
Right.
I still don't know what to think about this movie. I mean, here's the thing about those scenes that they released. I will totally buy into what you're saying, and the reason I'll totally buy into what you're saying is because, on one hand, Nicholas Galitzine says, "Oh, this is going to be a complete departure. We're doing our own film. This is something that's we want this to be our own." You say that on one side of your mouth, and then the other side of your freaking mouth, you're freaking showing Prince Adam, like, literal tropes. A pink-shirted Prince Adam with purple pants with a power sword. You know what I mean? And throwing his head back, laughing as if he's doing the hey yeah.
I mean,
You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That looks planted to me. That literally looks like, okay, Nicholas, we want you to laugh right now. Okay. It's like, oh my God. How did they get that perfect laugh? That's impossible. The odds of that actually happening are infinitesimal. It's ridiculous. That doesn't make any freaking sense.
Unless they were going for it.
Yes. They literally spent a tiny fraction of the budget to get on a set in the outdoors, and said, okay, fine, we're just going to do this for publicity's sake. And you know what? That makes sense to me, because principal photography, how come we haven't heard about the rest of it? Like, they've only, like, it
exactly
just doesn't seem to make much sense to me. But you know what? I think Travis Knight is pretty smart. I think he's pretty smart.
And Ted is saying here that they have said that it starts on Earth and goes to Eternia.
Yes, 100%. I totally get 20 years, apparently. And again, I don't not believe that, unfortunately, right? I mean, for crying out loud, it looks like Prince Adam is wearing a smartwatch. You know what I mean? He's wearing an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think it very much is going to happen. I don't like it. I don't like the idea that he's exiled to his planet as a child, and then 20 years later he finds his power sword. The story is just not jiving with me, and that's why I keep saying I have very little faith in this film. I really do. But you know what? At this point, I'm going to go in with like no expectations and hope to be entertained. I think it's probably what I'm going to go for right now. I think that's the most I can hope for.
Here's my secret to navigating pop culture. I go into everything with no expectations. I try to avoid trailers in general. I really tend to avoid like rumors and stuff. Like, this is the most rumor-tastic I'm ever probably going to get, because I've got some other leak stuff to show in a little bit.
Sure.
But I just go in saying I'm going to try to appreciate this for what it is, rather than look for reasons to hate what it isn't. Yep. And every so often the movie comes along where it's like, no, this is just bad, aka Dial of Destiny. I just didn't enjoy it. I wanted so bad to like that movie. I wanted so bad to like it.
It had its moments, but
sure,
really they were, and a movie. The real problem with the Dial of Destiny for me is that, if you're going to make this his last hurrah, then do it with some dignity. And I think they tried to do that, but an 80-year-old man is not going to move the way that guy did. It's impossible. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, and I can barely move that way. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm heavy set. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie about that. But I mean, come on, let's call a spade a spade. Harrison Ford's no spring chicken, man. He's not gonna move like that. And then at the end, they just did that tiny little glimmer of hope to every freaking Indiana Jones fan out there and made him steal his hat back. Like, come on, just leave it out there. Just leave it out there and be done with it. It's in the Smithsonian already, for crying out loud. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And that's not even the original hat.
Yeah. I want to give a huge shout out to Tom and to Grego in the chat. Welcome, guys.
Well, sure. Absolutely. I see Skeletor says, "Never mind He-Man and I battling it out. Look at the Battle of the Beards happening on screen."
There's no battle here. Jim, no, I flew to Texas to take that picture. Okay, like Jim and I are snuggling. It's he's Big Spoon. I'm Little Spoon. It's okay.
My audience actually asked if you were actually here because of how well you photoshopped that. It was so good. That was good. It's like, ha! Between you and my buddy Yoshi Vu, like, I've got some tech power going because Yoshi does a lot of CG work on a lot of films and TV shows you've seen. Awesome. So he does a lot of cool stuff too. So let's get back to the Cat's Lair so we can wrap up.
Let's talk about this because very interesting here and a little bit upsetting in some ways. So I'm not really sure how they managed to make this happen. I'm wondering if this is actually there. Now that I'm seeing this now with what they've included, I'm wondering if this is the extra 50 that they bought themselves. So that's what I'm starting to think now. I'm thinking they bought these themselves, and the only reason I say that, okay, so basically I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going out on a limb here and saying that these are not some sort of surplus that Super 7 offered them. I think they bought these, and I'll tell you why. The reason I think that they bought these, and that would explain why the price tag is so high, because they bought them and they're trying to make a markup on it. So moving down further, you see a couple of things. First of all, it says the following notices apply to this product: maximum quantity per order, shipping restrictions in the USA only. So that's probably because, again, trying to ship this overseas is just stupid. That would be a bad idea. Product description, don't have to read that, but this is the one that really is important. Includes the early bird bonus key to Thundera. Now that, if they hadn't bought these themselves, that would be disingenuous. Okay, right. That would be disingenuous on Super 7's part, because that flies in the face of everybody who basically would have wanted the Key of Thundera and should have just waited for the secondary market if you really wanted it that badly. Not that you want to spend another $450 on top, but I'm just saying. So that to me is sort of an indicator that this batch that they're listing right now is probably the 50 or so that they bought themselves. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. Shows all the product features, but this one is particularly important. Shipping notice: due to its extremely large size, this item comes in 2 cartons, and here's the key: shipped as is with no additional packaging. Jim, Titan Toys takes care of you, because literally they made sure that the extra packaging was there, and it appears that Big Bad Toy Store is not bothering this time, as they're just going to ship it out as it's received from them.
If they were passing it along at maybe a 10% markup, I could dig it. But when you're having that big of a markup on this, you can afford the extra cardboard. That's a 100%. Dick move.
I totally am very disappointed. Yes. I'm very, very disappointed that they're not at least giving you a second thicker box, because I've been very critical about that. Right? I was lucky, Jim. Like, you know what? I consider myself incredibly lucky to receive my box the way it did. I'm all the way in Canada, and my box only has a few, I consider them minor dings. There are people who are in California, not even a few 100 miles away from Super 7, and people have had theirs destroyed. Absolutely
crazy.
Destroyed.
It's absolutely crazy.
Right? So I don't understand what's going on. In my video, I even highlighted how I think the damage is occurring. And my brother Dex, he was like, "You know what? You're right." Right? Because I literally said, this is how people in warehouses, because I was a warehouse worker once upon a time, right? In order to get some good leverage and in order not to break my back, I'll put my knee on a box and start moving it around, shifting it with my weight. And unfortunately, because of the thinness of these cardboard boxes, guess what? My knee's going to go right through that box. right?
Exactly.
And that's exactly what happened. Nobody drop kicked these things. I'm not going to say that, but when you're moving it around your knee, guess what? It's going to push against the box, which has
Dent.
very little padding, none at all. And and the cardboard box that they're using is nowhere near the same thickness that they had for Snake Mountain. And I stand by that, and I'm actually very disappointed with that. So it comes with everything, no additional bonuses except for the key to Thundera, which is very big. That is a very big bonus in terms of what it is. Um, Now, mind you, I'm gonna say this right away. This price tag, not that I'm condoning this. I'm not condoning this at all, but this does not surprise me. Because right now it's the talk of the town. Everybody's talking
Right.
about cats that are good or bad, right? And I already know several people who have bought it in and around this price, and some even higher than that.
Yeah,
So
like without going into too much detail, because it's publicly available information. I paid more than that for Eternia
yeah,
through Titan. Yeah,
yeah,
and that I felt that was justified at the time. And I know that there's some Thundercats collector out there that missed out on the initial order of these, and is having that same conversation with themselves that I did about Eternia. I'm sure that to someone this is a good price. It is not for me, but I understand it. I just would prefer it not be that for the people that
100%.
do want it.
100%. And like I said, for me, and I do have to say this once again. I do have to say I want to thank everybody who helped me to acquire this Cat's Lair, because at the time I just did not have the funds. You know what I mean? And I implored.
Yes.
I put the call out and I said, hey, if anybody wants to buy some of my stuff, or help me along with this, right? I would really appreciate it. And the call went out, and people responded. I was shocked. I was shocked at the generosity of people, the interest, and of course, I had a lot of stuff to get rid of, so it was fine. Um, but I am very, very humbled by the community. Our community here, Jim, is one of the best communities ever. I mean, like the
Without
community
question.
for the most part. I mean, you're going to get your dirt bags and everything like that. Every community has those, but
Well, sure.
for the most part, this has been an incredible experience. You know what I mean? Like being here and sharing and just being part of this amazing community. And it humbles me. It humbles me to think that I'm part of this great community.
I completely agree with that. It's something where uh, most of my toy collecting friends have been collecting for a very long time, and I'm only coming this July. Will be 4 years into this hobby. I had someone come in that had never seen my toy room before, come in and be like, well, "How long have you been collecting?" And I said, "Well, in July will be 4 years." And he was like, "What? Like how?" And I says, "Well, skip the occasional meal and go after it with gusto. That's all there is to it." And but the biggest gift really has been the people that you meet along the way. I know it's cliche, but I think it's really true.
No, you know what? I wouldn't trade anything in the world if I didn't meet the people who I've met. You know what I mean? Like you, JP over at Thunder's Classics, Jorge, um, Carlos, my good friend Danny, all of us, have met through toys, and it's just a shared love of this hobby, and it's incredible. It's just um, and it's crazy though, Jim. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure you've experienced it at least once or twice being in Texas. Somebody's going to recognize you. At
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point, somebody's going to recognize you, and then when they recognize you, it really is just that with that crazy thing where you're like, you know who I am, and
right.
it never I never get used to it. I never get used to somebody walking up to me, Jay. I'm like, I literally look around. I'm like, who just called me? And then they're like, dude, I love your show. I'm like, what? Really? And
Yep.
I have this moment of like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Like how the hell do you know who I am? I mean, like, I'm in Canada, right? And it's one of those things. And then I go down to San Diego, and people are stopping me every few yards. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? It's just that surreal moment. I'm pretty sure someone has stopped you by now, Jim.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been blessed to have a few things that people know me from, whether it be me being a professional drummer in a death metal band in the early part of this century. Still get recognized for that a lot. The Game Chasers movie has upped my visibility quite a bit, and I've been doing YouTube in various forms for 19 years.
Mm.
You're gonna get recognized eventually by somebody.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. And I love it. I love it when it happens. And I really enjoy when new pockets of community come around. Like, for example, like there's a lot of people in the retro gaming that have no idea who I am. They didn't until I started doing conventions with the Chasers, and now it was like, oh, I came here just to see you, and it blows my mind. But then there's that crossover with toys, and occasionally you get the crossover of all three. We had a fan come down to Houston when we were doing Retropalooza down in Houston. This guy walks up, and he knows me from the movie.
Mm.
He knows me from toys because he watches my toy stuff, and he also knows me from my old band. And he was wearing like a similar shirt to me. We talked death metal for like
Wow,
20 minutes or whatever. That's probably my favorite one, where he's like, dude, I remember listening to your band. Then I heard you were getting into this movie. I'm like, oh, I love the Game Chasers. He's like, well, now you collect toys. I collect toys. But it was just like, it's nice to be able to. I do this because I enjoy sharing knowledge and joy as much as I possibly can. That is my goal. I like to put positive energy out there and hopefully help people, whether it just be entertaining them or maybe some information or just to pick me up, right? So when I get that back in any form, it's a humbling surprise.
Absolutely.
Because I'm doing this for me, and I hope to help people. So the fact that it touches anyone is just it's the best. It's
100%.
the absolute best.
I am totally on board with you. That's exactly how I feel. I feel the exact same way.
And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And speaking of things to keep in mind, I've got some leaks for you, buddy.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
So, you may recall that last year during the Walmart Collector Con, they revealed Origins style Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures based on the classic designs. Yes. And they have, but they didn't go up for pre-order. They just came out. And I was lucky enough to snag them. Well, I can confirm they're great figures. Love them to death.
They got some acne problems.
Yes, that's true. But a little bit of Clearasil just takes care of it. It's not a problem at all. But a buddy of mine shared this with me the other day.
Wow.
And I saw this and I said, ooh, is this coming as part of an extension of the classic reissues?
Yeah.
And I can confirm that it probably is a crossover.
Nice.
And I'll show why. So we're getting the drill vehicle from the classic Turtles line, which is great. And we're also getting the sewer playset. It is coming. So that's confirmed a classic reissue. Whereas the drill, although the colors are right, it looks a bit more robust than the original. Mm-hmm. The sewer playset looks pretty much a 1-to-1 from what I can see here, which is great. Then you get into this. This is an extension of that Origins style design, and it's keeping the color scheme from the OG toys. I think it's great. Finally, a shredder that doesn't look like he has osteoporosis and scoliosis. Right?
His eyebrows on top of his helmet. I mean, that.
right. And then we also are getting a Rocksteady.
Nice.
In that style. So it confirms what I was hoping against hope, that we would see more of these figures, because I thought, even though there are some minor quibbles that I have with them, the concept is sound on those figures, and I was hoping they'd do more. So we're seeing that, and then also to get this vehicle and this play set, it's like, okay, I don't know what's taking them so long to do all this, but I'm glad that they are.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Holy crap!
Yeah. Yes, I want to thank my friend for sharing those with me.
Sure,
so we can see that.
That is insane. Like that's some good stuff, because again, like I really do enjoy the Origin style, where they've just added another 6 or 7 points of articulation, which really makes all the difference. In the ankles, in the knees, in the elbows, in the head. And of course the detachable nature of of these characters. I mean, they've all, and you know what? That's evolved in Playmates. They've literally stolen that and given it to Mutant Mayhem. You know, they've
Hmm.
already started their pop and swap situation there already. So
Yep.
that's pretty wild. That's
You know,
actually really
and this is hot on the heels of them showing off their first Power Rangers figures since they got the license. They're doing the flip heads, which I was very as soon as I saw that I was like, dude, that's not the way to go for your first release. But then 2 days later, they put out a promo shot of all the Zords they're making. Playmates are making
yep,
Zords.
yep.
Now, what scale they're making them is yet to be seen. I would imagine they're like Voyager class Transformers scale.
Yeah, they look a
Probably.
bit small. I'll be honest with
Yeah,
you. They look a bit.
yeah.
But my other problem with that is, you know, does anybody really want the head flip feature? I'm not. I don't know. I know what I know. The Playmates at the end of the day, Playmates is a kid's very kid oriented in terms of their
Sure.
overall market, right? They've never really strayed away from that for the most part. So I can see why they want gimmicks. I get it. Um, and their adult collectible market has been hit and miss. You know, they
Right.
did those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie figures for a while, and they were not that great. You know what I mean? It always seems like they fall very short on the mark, and I don't know why they do. Like, I guess they don't want to put in the money for realistic scans and things like that. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of people are very interested to find out what does the actual new heads look like, because the Power Ranger heads are really, really tiny, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if the human heads are actually a pretty decent size, because I'm hoping that might actually be the case. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and like right here, Taze is saying, not again with the flip heads. Tommy's better than before, but still, if Playmates really wanted to seize control of the market for Power Rangers and really make a statement, what they should have done was release a Green Ranger in the Lightning Collection scale because Hasbro canceled him at the last second, which I thought was a huge disrespectful move on the part of Hasbro because he's not with us anymore. And I'm not the hugest Power Rangers fan, but I recognize their place in the pantheon. So I have all the Rangers. The only one I'm missing is a green one. And
Is that for the what was that? That was upgraded Lightning Collection, or
yep,
which one was that?
yep, like
I
Lightning
thought they made
Collection.
I thought they made a Green Ranger. Did they not make a
They
Green Ranger?
they made a old in the original version of the line. Yes, they did make one. They also made a White Ranger, which I have.
Yeah.
And in the upgraded one, for example, the Red Ranger doesn't have the actor's likeness because he had a legal problem with them. So I have a new one and an old one. So I have the upgraded figure, put the old head on it, kind of a thing,
Yeah,
to
I was about to
Frankenstein it
say.
together.
So
So I was
Is it
thinking
Rocky who's the Red Ranger? Like who's, or they just didn't even give him a head? Like how did
they gave him. I think they just gave him a generic face, as I recall. I'd have to pull it out, but
I mean,
what?
it might be Rocky, the second Red
Yeah,
Ranger maybe.
could be.
Um, um,
And what I will say is interesting, and I just thought of this, so you inspired this, because I have an extra Red Ranger body, and I have a White Ranger Tommy. I could just repaint the Red Ranger green, and then try to like 3D print his armor or something. I don't know. It just very
I think you should wait. You should probably wait, because the oh no, I see what you're saying, because Playmates has the license now, right? But
right.
I mean, Hasbro can do whatever they want. They can release an anniversary edition or something like that.
Well, sure.
Ted Millick, is he in jail? I know that. What's his name? I know. I don't think he's in jail. I think he's facing litigation for like fraud or something like that. But I don't think he's in jail.
Sure.
Yeah. That's understandable. Oh, good to see Guy Dorian Senior is in the house. Good to see you, Guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Says took a break. Need to catch up what's going on with the Motu Collector World and toys in general. Um,
I hope to see
I,
Guy at Toylanta this year. That would be excellent.
so
I think Guy might actually be invited to go to Joy Fest next year, Joe Lantis next year, which might be interesting. I'm not really 100% sure, but
okay.
things are in the
All right.
works. Things are in the works. Guy,
So
if anybody doesn't know, is an incredible comic book artist. He's been in the industry for well over 40 years. I mean, the guy's just an amazing, incredible artist. So, guys, you should follow Guy Dorian Senior on Instagram. Great guy.
right here. So, and in keeping with that, we promised to talk about like the state of things. a little bit, because I know you had a bit of a live stream and a video about that earlier. I think it was late last week or early this week, where you were talking about toy hunting being a very different thing than it was when you first started, and I would agree with that. And it leads into where the industry is too. So you see a lot of these crowd funds. You see different types of exclusives than we did in a early post-pandemic world, kind of a thing. I think the industry is shifting. Hasbro, who has so much power in the toy industry, is kind of pushing away from the table a little bit. They're focusing more on games, not just video, but board games, card games, video games. And I think that kind of sends a shiver down everyone's spine, whether you like Hasbro or not. When someone that big in the industry is like, I don't want to play anymore, or I don't want to play as much. I'm going home, guys. Bye. Like literally taking their toys and going home. And then they moved their home, which is weird. And you look at Mattel, who seem to be almost doing the opposite and kind of revisiting toy lines that have kind of been in and out. Like you looking at your Masterverses, and they've got more little people out than they have in a long time.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I do not understand. I get it. When I was like 3 years old, I was
Yep.
playing with little people. You know what I mean? I just don't
Yep.
understand how that equates to my collecting habits now. Like, if you're trying to get your kids into toys, I get that. But are you really going to spend 3 times the cost of a little person for a collectible, which your kids are going to slobber over? I mean, I don't
Right.
understand how that equates, and I'm not even sure if it's working, because they seem to be having these sales for all these football brands
Yep.
on little people. The one that interested me the most, I'm not going to lie, is the Voltron one. That
Hmm.
was I was like, all right, I might need that, and then I ended up not buying it because I was
Yeah, I
like,
looked at the Motu ones. I was like, this would be kind of cool. But then I thought, I have nothing to pair this with, and I have enough Motu. Like, I'm good.
and they're not
You
going
know,
to do
yeah.
another one. That's
No.
going to be it. That's going to be it, right?
Right. But then, like, okay, so we look at like Origins as an example, right? They're really chugging along. They've got the cartoon collection. They've got some really good steam with that. They're diversifying the Mattel Creation stuff, which is good because that means I don't have to worry about one day a month being ready to, hit that stupid ass button. But in retail, they're doing interesting things like these deluxe boxes. I like a lot better than the larger blister. Like these are easier to keep. And this Horde Trooper Prime, like I did not see this coming.
Nope.
And they just dropped it last year. It was a Walmart exclusive, which was like grr. And I don't know what happened to everyone, but I know that a significant portion of people who pre-ordered these guys from Walmart got their pre-orders canceled right before they were supposed to ship, and then the price doubled. They originally went up on sale for like $18, $19 or something,
Yeah.
and that was the pre-order price that I paid, and then they canceled, went up to 35 a pop. Then Big Bad gets their shipment in, which lifts the restriction of how many you can pre-order.
Mm.
I bought 2 from them, and then out of nowhere, these come in stock on Walmart at the reduced price they originally were up for. We're on sale, so I bought 2 more, so I have 4.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm happy to have them,
Sure.
but in a world where Big Bad can get them at the same time, or almost before the Walmart exclusive, you know what I mean? Is exclusive really a thing anymore?
Yeah, you know what? We can talk all day long about how Target cancels their pre-orders, and then people are actually finding them in store before the pre-order versions actually start shipping. We can talk
Right.
all day long about how logistics and distribution happen, but the reality is that we're living in a world now where brick and mortar is starting to disappear, and
Yes.
that was actually the whole theme of my last live stream.
Mhm.
And some people caught it, and thank you for everybody who watched that episode. And, I'm at that stage now where I had okay, so going back a little bit, like I had Mega J Retro has always been my main channel, and it's evolved multiple times. It's gone from a anime channel to a cartoon retrospective channel to sometimes I was doing tech reviews. Something again, when you're first starting YouTube, you tend to do a crap ton of things you don't want.
Hmm.
You try experiment with, and then during the pandemic, things just kind of went one way, and I was like, screw this, I'm going to start collecting toys again, right? Because
Yep.
I saw huge inspiration to me, Pixel Dan, talking about how the real Ghostbusters was coming back as a reissue, and I was like, holy crap. I love those as kids. I kept breaking the freaking wands. I need those back in my life. So I just went out and I never found them. I never found them. But again, because I had nothing else to do around that time, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna put this on camera. I'm gonna talk about my experience walking around and trying to find something. And that turned out to be one of a really great choice for my channel, and it really helped to grow my channel to where it is right now. But around that time, I started recognizing very early on, I was like, I can't keep doing this as frequently as I am now, because I was going out every single week, probably actually every few days I was going out, right? And
Right.
I was just burning through gas. Gas was no like the price of gas is ridiculous now, right? So I was burning through gas. I was going like 3 cities away. Like I went hardcore with my hunting at one point. Um, and I was like, I can't keep this. This is not sustainable. It's not a
No, it's
sustainable
not.
way of doing a channel, right? I don't know how half of these guys, not another retro channel, half of the guys out there who are doing this, like Man Cave Collectibles, I don't know how you like. I imagine because of their work. I imagine because they work at locations which are way further than them. They just have to hunt on their way back, right? Which is
Hmm.
great because you're spending the gas anyway. You might as well do something with it, right? So I imagine that's what's happening in those instances. My good friend JB of JB's Toy Trunk, um, I'm pretty sure that's probably what they're into, or they're just going out for groceries. You know what I mean? That happens too, right? That's what I
Exactly.
was doing. I was going out for originally I was going out for groceries and doing whatever, right? And I think that I was lucky too that we still have Toys R Us up here. So every time I did a Toys R Us episode, a lot of people from the U.S. were like, "What? Where the hell are you?" Where people just
Right.
flabbergasted that there was still something out there. I was like, "No, no, no, I'm in Canada," right? But it still helped the channel to grow a lot. But the problem is I couldn't keep it up. There was just no way. So I made the conscious decision at some point to split the channel, right? So I decided, okay, I'm going to make MJR Collector a hunting channel. Like I'm going to create a new channel called MJR Collector, and I'm just going to move all my hunting to there, right? And then I'm going to keep going with Mega J Retro and just make it a toy news channel. And in a lot of ways, looking back at it, it was a really smart idea, right? It was a really great idea to do it that way. And for a while, I kept that two channel system. I just kept going, right? Because it wasn't so bad. I would hunt maybe once a week at one point. Then it went down to once every 2 weeks. Then it went down to like once a month. But it was still fine. It was consistent. I was able to keep going with all the content I had. Um, but things, as we all know, things just started after we all started going back to normalcy, if you can even call it that, right? Things just changed. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's weird. In as much as they were trying to just go back to the way things had been, and for whatever reason, it's just not taking hold. I think too many people that used to rely on brick and mortar got used to delivery services, like Instacart, where you can just get groceries delivered. I get everything delivered, everything. Just anything I can get delivered, I do. And does that take the huntiness out of toy hunts? Yeah. Do I care? No. But I know that it has a negative effect where whatever you're buying, it's very difficult to, on one hand, say, I like the convenience of this, it works better for me, but also to not have that option if I do want to go out and look for something. It's dwindling because people like me aren't going to stores anymore, and the stock isn't handled the way that it used to be.
No.
Shipping, logistics, they never got things back in order, you know. But even back in the 90s, I remember a buddy of mine worked for a department store back home, and he was in the toy section. And even he, who had a real passion for it, had a hard time managing his section with collectors and children in mind. He had a very difficult time doing that, even then. So it kind of always in the back of my head, remembering hearing him commiserate about this Batman the Animated Series figure or that Kenner thing or whatever, just not being able to find what he was looking for despite having his thumb on the pulse of that distribution model. You know, he could go to any Hills with his any Hills department store with his employee card and just go in the back and search in the back. He had that level of access that no one gets. And he had a hard time. So it just kind of turned me off to toys, which is why it took me so long to begin collecting. And seeing guys like Narc, seeing guys like the Game Chasers, Toy Chasers, yourself, anyone who's out there chasing stuff, I just kind of made the conscious decision I'm not going to put myself through that. And I think that's a lot of people. And then you combine that with pandemic hits, people are not only buying everything online because they don't have much of a choice, but they're also, you saw just this influx of people like myself just start to collect out of nowhere. And the online purchasing, because that was just the norm for everything at the time, it becomes the norm for your toy collecting, and people just, they're not accustomed to shopping for toys that way. And not having a destination store like a Toys R Us or a KB or any kind of real healthy competition in that specialized space aside from mom and pops, that doesn't help it either. When you have department stores that don't care and you don't have a good alternative beyond small business, and not every major city has those kinds of stores, and certainly not small towns, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to hunt? How are you supposed to maintain any of this stuff in that way? I don't think you can.
No, it's correct. It's tough. It's tough, and it keeps shrinking. You know, Walmart's interest in adult collectibles is definitely dwindling. Like they have a collector section. Target has the collector's corner. You know what I mean? They have these dedicated areas, but as everything, like, you know, Hasbro is now moving to gaming, as you mentioned earlier, right? Hasbro's not only are they moving their headquarters, they're actually moving their entire philosophy, right? Chris Cox, the CEO, has basically said, "No, our future is in gaming," and to anybody who's a toy collector, that should be a huge red flag. They have the Marvel license, they have the Star Wars license, they have they own GI Joe, right? They own GI Joe, they own so many different properties which people are very, very much attached to. So that kind of thing should definitely be concerning to any toy collector. It's something crazy. I did want to give a huge shout out to Cute Cult, who just literally said loyal subjects mask teaser images are out, and Jim, if you wanna throw that up,
you got it.
This is pretty crazy. Holy crap! No, I have it queued up, Jim. If you I have it queued up. Yeah.
Oh, that's even easier. Bam.
So thanks to our good friends over at ToyHabits.com, they've already, as always, the Michael and Toy Sisters are on the ball on this. The teaser images are up, and these look insane. Now, these come from the Loyal Subjects official Instagram page, and I got to tell you, Jim, were you a M.A.S.K fan?
I was huge into M.A.S.K as a kid. I had most of the Series 1 stuff, minus the Rhino and the Switchblade, but then I just got into them hardcore. I had a little bit from every series they had, and then I also got into even like those little 2-packs of figures and like the little backpack things. Like, I was deep in this stuff. So when this got announced, I promised myself that if they really took to task to what they said they were going to do, that I'd be in for a penny, in for a pound, at least on the first series. So this first wave, I'm getting all of them, period. No question. And then from there, I'll cherry pick.
What's really interesting about these is they have, I guess they've dedicated themselves to releasing basically 1-to-1 scale with the original toys. You know what, the molds are all but gone. They don't exist anymore. But if they're actually recreating this with new technology and the size and scale that was, now I'll say this: M.A.S.K toys are small. Like they're actually quite small. I think the figures themselves are 3 inches? Not even. I think they're
not even, like 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 inches. They're tiny. They're really, really small, and they didn't really have much in the way of detail, they were okay. Looking at these pictures right now, even though they're in shadow, you can already glean off the idea that, you know what, there's a lot more detail in these. Um, like Matt Tracker here, you can tell he's got actual facial features. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like that's pretty
I
crazy.
could call it, if you go over to the Condor picture,
Sure.
the motorcycle.
Yeah.
You see how his arm comes out? He's got a hinge, a shoulder hinge. They didn't have that
Oh,
before.
yeah. True. Absolutely.
Yeah, so they're definitely going for an update, and there's a blast effect on the front. We never
Yep.
had that before.
There are blast effects.
So
Even Rhino
yeah,
here.
the smoke.
Yeah, it's got like, well, it looks more like fire, but yeah, definitely smoke effects.
It's crazy.
That's nuts. And I'm hoping it has some fire effects too. But yeah, it's this is fascinating. This is
It
absolutely
really is.
fascinating. Yeah, and there's the first wave. It's interesting that there's only one Venom figure there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
I think the reason that this first wave doesn't have the entire series in it is so that they can put out a nice chunk, get people hooked, and then they still have some series one to carry over, like the Switchblade, which
Yep.
is the sidecar motorcycle. That was my first one. And then of course you're gonna get, I forget the name of it, but it's the Jeep that has the boat that comes out of it.
yeah,
Um,
I couldn't name any of these guys to save my life, but I know that's Thunderhawk, right? I think that's what that is, or Thunderbird.
uh, is it Thunderhawk? I thought. Hang on, I'll get the name for you. Thunderhawk. Yeah, it is. You're
Yeah.
right. And I had that, and as a kid, I just fell in love with the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted a Switchblade, which is what we're looking at now. Or
Yep,
not
yep,
the
Switchblade is so
Switchblade.
good.
And then and I had that.
I think it's
and
Rhino,
then
right?
Rhino.
It was
I
Rhino.
never had that, but I want one bad.
Yeah, Rhino
And
was like,
I think ultimately, because they're adding these extra features, we have to prepare ourselves for a price point that's going to be a bit sticky.
We're
For
gonna
the size
see-
that they are,
yeah,
if they're above $30 a pop, I'm gonna be a little mad.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't feel like I don't want to pay $100 a pop for these things.
Okay, so as we know, Rum and Toy released and is continuing to release their versions of M.A.S.K.
Yeah.
And their version of Thunderhawk is much bigger. It's actually
Oh, yeah.
more akin to a realistic size of what a Trans Am would have been. And I was lucky enough to actually play with one, and they gifted me their convention exclusive one, which is incredible, right?
That's great.
And the engineering behind that is intense. You know what I mean? It does what it's supposed to do, and as a lot of people know, Retro Toy Escapades talks about it all the time, because again, the massive channel for those things. Over time, the mechanisms, the springs, they break down. Right? There's no getting around that. And even with these newer versions, they're not going to be able to sustain. Right? Like everything breaks down. It's just the nature of materials. Right? But I think that with proper care and proper attention, you could actually get these to last a lot longer. So it'll be interesting to see how loyal subjects have decided to fix those issues. Right? But it's interesting that there are going to be two versions of M.A.S.K, if you will, because I think that Ramen Toy is going to continue their line. They've done the actual, I think it's the shark from the TV show, so which never got released. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because there's a lot of things going forward that again, the toy space is small now. It's shrinking. And in terms of like companies trying to get into the business, and it's interesting that what's it called, manufacturers who are kickstarting their projects now, right? Like independents, indie toy manufacturers are becoming a thing, and there's a lot of loyalty behind that, right? So all of these legacy brands, which for the most part, have been abandoned. I mean, Hasbro didn't want anything to do with this for the longest time. They haven't done anything with it. They had one, I think, anniversary release as an SDCC exclusive 5 years ago, and it was just ridiculous. It was just a figure, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Tracker looked okay, but You know, he
It
was
wasn't in
GI.
yeah. So you take the fact that they're willing to push this license off to somebody else, but at least that somebody really seems to care about the market because I think it's a masterstroke to do this. It prints money, you know, because people that like myself were really excited by that big warehouse find they had down in I think it was
Holy
Chile,
crap, that was nuts. What was
and
it? What was it? It was South America somewhere, right? It was
Puerto Vallarta, Chile, something. I'm not sure, uh, but just knowing that there's that much product out in the world again, it was like, oh, cool. But then I started looking at the price points that the value was commanding. I said, no, I can't. I'm not doing this. But then when I heard about this, I said, oh, well, this is something that's a bit more of a sure bet. I think these will fly off the shelves because even people that have the vintage ones, it's kind of like how I deal with Todd McFarlane's Superpowers. When they do a 1-to-1 of an OG vintage Superpowers figure, I am more akin to the idea of, well, let's put the vintage one behind glass or in a box and keep it nice, and
exactly.
then I'll have display
Yeah.
the nicer one. And I
So
think that Mask would be the same thing. I would
the
hope.
the way this always works, and IMJ, yes, these are the exact same size. They're the exact same scale as the original Mask releases. So that is that. So rest assured, you're getting exactly the same scale, and that's exactly what Jim's bringing up. Um, I've always found that there will be a dip in the collector market for about a month, maybe 2 months or something like that, just because there's new product coming in. But soon
Right.
thereafter, it's going to go the opposite way. Like all of a sudden, people are going to realize, you know what, the there's a finite amount of these vintage versions, so they become more valuable afterwards. This tends to encourage the vintage market collectors to really hold on to their stuff, and that's how that tends to happen.
Oh yeah, and that goes for just about anything. But with something that is in that middle tier like Mask, where it wasn't insanely popular when it came out, to where there's not that much out there, combined with renewed interest, like it drives the market up. Versus like Skeleton Warriors, no one gives a shit about, and they're everywhere. You know, um, it's just what it is. But I like what YMJ is saying here. It says biggest mistake Hasbro made was not going all in on Mask incorporated into the 25th anniversary line for GI Joe.
Yep,
I agree. I think it would have made a lot of sense.
um, and there was a lot of speculation, and we don't know what's happening now because with Hasbro bowing out of the media um, industry, right? After selling
Mm.
one media, one entertainment. Um, the future of the GI Joe Transformer crossover is in jeopardy right now. Like
Oh yeah.
there's no certainty on that, and that actually was the catalyst to lead them into Mask.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when in the last film, um, where he basically put on that power suit, he put on Jazz for the most part. Spoilers, god damn it.
Right.
Um, you didn't hear anything. Nobody heard that. That was basically to me like a Mask moment. You know what I mean? Where he was
Mm.
suiting up essentially and putting on a helmet. Right? I was like, all right, that's Mask. That's it. Mask is coming. Right? I think a lot of people thought that. I think a lot of people were thinking, dang, this is Mask. Mask. This can evolve into Mask. Right? I think a lot of people were hoping for that. And I think Mask could do well in this client. I think Mask as a property could really do quite well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Um, it would be there would be you still have to get a good writer into it and everything like that. But I think that transforming vehicles is again you sort of split your market, right? And I think that's the real problem that Hasbro didn't want to do. They didn't want to split their market. I've always said for a time, people are always telling me Dino Riders should come back. I was like, there's no way. There's no way Dino Riders come back. And people are like, why? Why can't Dino Riders? I'm like, think about it. What is Mattel's biggest property right now? Like, bar none, other than Barbie and Hot Wheels. After that, guess what it is?
It's Motu in Jurassic Park.
No, actually, I wish it was Motu. Motu is actually the very low, very low on the podium. But you're right about it. But you hit it on the head. It's Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, fucking dinosaurs, man. Dinosaurs print money. There are
Oh
three
yeah.
properties in Mattel that print money. Hot Wheels, Barbie. Actually, it's the other way around. Barbie, Hot Wheels, and freaking dinosaurs, man. So the problem with that is you can't have two dinosaur lines in the same company. It's just you're going to eat you're going to eat your market share up. It's crazy, right? So that's why that would never fly. And they have to, like, if I were Mattel, I would consider sub licensing out Dino Riders, because
Sure.
Dino Riders has legs. If you look at um, the Mesozoic dinosaur, whatever that toy line is, I can't remember exactly, but they have a Cyberzoic line, which is really, sparking the imagination of Dino Rider fans. It's freaking cool.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff out there, and I see a lot of, like you had last year, that gentleman whose name escapes me, but he was doing a 1/12
Yeah,
version
hold on,
of the
Jim.
old Battle. Sure.
Jim, I'll be right back. Give me a second.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
Um, so this buddy of mine had done these 1/12 scale Battle Beasts and did a Kickstarter, and it was funded, and it's going to be coming out soon. It's going to be great. Like, I'm super stoked for him. And he couldn't call them Battle Beasts, of course, because, well, they don't have the trademark, right? So I think there's we've gotten to this place where fans and veterans of the toy industry are saying, we know better than you corporate people, and so these smaller companies are rising up, for sure. And I hope that continues to be the case, but you just never know what's going to hit versus what isn't. But yes, dinosaurs absolutely print money, and they certainly have legs. Dino Riders do, Giraffe, for sure. Sometimes four of them. You are correct. Like a toy line I'd love to see come back, but I know they're not going to ever do it, is Starriers. Bring out Starriers in like a 1/12. So it's, they're 6 inches tall, easier engineering at that point. Or do 1-to-1, I don't care. But I never hear anyone talk about it. Just like Sky Commanders. No one's going to do a Sky Commanders. No one's going to do Air Raiders again. But I loved those toy lines as a kid. And they're on the list of vintage toys to go after eventually. But we talk about Dino Riders having legs. Brave Star. Ramen Toys did their Brave Star figure. Well, not Brave Star, but why they haven't revived that? You've already got like Masterverse scale, which is perfect to redo, like say Brave Star. But there's a ton of toy lines that are just sitting there. Whether it's M.A.S.K was on this list until very recently. We just talked about my buddy doing his off-brand Battle Beasts in 1/12 scale. I could list all these different toy lines, Starriers and Dino Riders and all these things that probably should come to market, but it's a lack of either logistic ability or balls. Those are the only two things that are stopping these things from coming out.
I also think that there's like okay, you look at M.A.S.K and it's not easy. I was able to see some of the behind the scenes on how they developed the transformation abilities, and it's not cheap. I mean, compared to action figures are relatively easy to make. Why? Because they have a set number of parts, they have a set number of articulation, they have a set number of things. Human beings have heads, arms, legs, and a torso, right? Hands and feet, right? Whereas something like a Trans Am, it's got so many moving parts. You got wheels, you got doors, you got steering wheels, you got a wing which transforms, the compartment at the bottom which launches the 2 missiles. So there's a lot of considerations when you're making these.
And there's next to no reuse either. No reuse.
Exactly. So it's expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vehicles and playsets are expensive because again, you can only really use them for one function, right? Jim, you're totally right, and that really is the defining problem with most large companies. They need to be able to reuse these things. If you're an independent company, you can do whatever you can do whatever you want. I mean, like you can burn through a couple of dies and molds, and really, because you only had one run or whatever, 2 runs, that's pretty much it. But if you're planning on making multiple characters, multiple runs, then you should try your best to reuse your molds. That's just the way it should be, or at least that's smart business.
Exactly. So for loyal subjects to not have access to the original molds for M.A.S.K, which are long gone, thank you for nothing, Hasbro, and to go in and have to go through all of that again, And while they're having to do that to create these toys, then go to the length and say, well, let's enhance them while we're at it. Let's make sure everything's a bit more solid, has some blast effects, things like that, things that modern toy collectors expect. Let's up the ante on articulation and so forth. This is just smart, because either way, it's going to cost them around the same amount of money, so might as well make it even better, not just because it's the right thing to do, but also it's a smart business move, because, again, that person that has all the vintage M.A.S.K stuff laying around, the allure of just the articulation on the figures alone is probably enough to get them to bite the apple. At least I hope so. I hope these sell like hotcakes.
Yeah,
I hope
I'm
it's a win.
very much in the same boat. I hope that they do gain that market traction, and a lot of mass collectors out there are looking for this. But in the same way, I'm hoping that eventually Centurions will come back. You know what I mean? Like, because I love
Yeah,
Centurions when I was a kid, and to
me
their
too.
credit,
I had them all.
exactly to their credit, though, Ramatoy did their best, but it really is hard. Like, people's understanding or even acceptance of third party efforts are loyalty is a big thing. I think I'll put it that way. Loyalty is a big thing, and once you buy into a brand, you want it to be official in many ways. You know what I mean? There's a like
Sure.
you look at Transformers, and the reason that third party works so well with Transformers is because Hasbro will go so far with an action figure, but they won't really. Sorry, not Hasbro. Zakara will go so far with Transformers, but they don't want to go that far, right? As a matter of fact, they've all but abandoned their masterpiece line, right?
Yeah.
They now are doing a slightly different masterpiece line, and it's out of scale with their original masterpiece line. So now it's all over the place right now, right? But that allows for third party companies to step in and say, hey, we want to continue this, we want to keep doing this, right? And you know what? Hasbro, for the most part, and Takara, for the most part, have actually turned that blind eye. And there are a whole bunch of conspiracy theories around that, that they're getting a cut, they're doing stuff, blah, 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 whatever. So, that's another ball of wax entirely. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, if it were not for those third parties, I wouldn't have a Unicron, and I do. So it's like, and he's
A great
beautiful.
Unicron, an incredible
Yeah.
Unicron at that. Transforming that
Yeah.
sucker is just put some band-aids on there, because that
I
thing.
actually told my wife, I says, if I want to display this in planet mode, I should just buy a second one and just
Yeah,
never.
unfortunately, yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna lie though, Jim. You should keep that Unicron and then get a Hasbro Unicron to leave in planet mode, because the Hasbro Unicron is incredible in planet mode. Now he looks great in robot mode too, but if you want cartoon accuracy, you go for a Studio Cell or whatever they're calling it now. There's
Yeah.
it's been called so many things now, it's ridiculous. So
Yeah. And I pulled him out of the box, and I was just so happy. Um, just the hand and figure articulation alone is like, oh,
just beautiful.
You talk about toyetic, like this is not to use the word improperly, but a masterpiece, right? Oh, and my wife's here saying, buy the second one. See, I told you. This is what she does.
She is a unicorn. She's a
Yes, she is. Like early last year, it was just like, okay, I had just lost my job, and I had some severance, so we had some money not to play with, but it was like we were fine. So I was really, really having a hard time with that Eternia decision. And we made that decision. We put the money down. It was like, okay, it's paid for. I'm never going to see that money again. Hopefully, I see an Eternia, and we all know how that turned out, which is awesome, and I'm super happy about that. Right after that, I see it the Studio Cell Unicron with the more accurate paint go up, and I'm like, fuck. So now I got to have this talk. Now, I always go to her. I never ask for permission, and I don't ask for forgiveness. I just tell her, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Like, am I crazy? And almost without fail, halfway through my pitch, she'll look at her phone, and then when I finish talking, she just, without looking up, will just get it. Just buy it if you want to get it, and that's that.
That's what a partnership is about. That's what a relationship is about. You respect each other enough to say, what do you think? Right?
The only time with toys she's gotten upset with me was when we had the revelation that she wanted to start collecting Lord of the Rings, the old Toy Biz line. And so I bought her one set, just to test the waters to see if she was really into it. And she's like, no, I want these.
Well,
And I've been making deals. And I will not reveal the number of figures that we have acquired because they're not all here yet. But I have been buying multitudes of these figures because I've been finding good deals on them.
great stuff. Yeah.
But she got upset with me because I don't like, I want it, but like I feel like it was like I was just
Sure.
love dumping and stuff, which is, I get it.
Sure, but
you
can use those for trade bait. You can use those for trades later down the road. You can or you can just.
Oh, she's keeping them, dude. She's just. It's
I'm
just.
just saying, but mint and box too.
Yeah.
You can do multiple things. But anyway, I know what you're saying, right? There's buyer's remorse for everything sometimes, right? And just like, what am I going to do with these things? I get it. I mean, I've been there. We're still living this whole situation, right? But
Right.
At the end of the day, it is the whole just constant love of toys, right? At the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that you guys can share this hobby, right? Not every couple can share this hobby. Not every couple understands each other in terms of that. But I always say this, and you know what? People sort of, and I don't understand why people raise their eyebrow when I say this thing. Some people, I know, not all people, but we should always be grateful that, you know what, our significant others allow us to love the things we love. And some people are like, wow, they shouldn't allow you to do that. I'm like, shut up, man. Like, seriously, it's a partnership for a reason. You can't.
Exactly.
Some people,
Every relationship
one
is
of you
give.
are, if somebody doesn't understand what you're doing, but they respect you and they love you enough to let you do what you do without really, you know, heaven forbid that they don't love you anymore and they destroy everything you love. Like, you know, that would be absolutely horrific. Right? And hopefully it never comes down to that. But the reality is, when people want to hurt you, they know exactly how to hurt you. You know what I mean? And you know what? That's something that happens all the time. So when I say that they allow you that it's because, again, you are in a relationship. So there's going to be a back and a forth.
Yeah, they afford you a certain degree of grace.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Like, even my wife, who to many people, as you said, is a unicorn, and I agree with that statement. But there are, speaking to her, that it's like, well, maybe I wouldn't, if I did not have the drive to buy these, she would not probably start this on her own.
Sure.
But it is something that, as she sees the joy it brings me, she shares that joy because she sees me happy. To her, that's what it is. And I don't mean to speak for you, dear, but that's the vibe that I get from you. And you've said it as much before as well. And the same goes with physical media. You know, I fell in love with this particular album a couple weeks back, and I even put on my personal Facebook, why did none of you tell me about this band? I'm so mad at you right now. And then turned around, sight unseen, and bought this almost $70 limited edition of that album, which is in a book, and it's got a Blu-ray and all this stuff. And I told her it was coming. And she was like, oh, okay, cool, that's awesome. And that was it. She was just like, that's cool. There's never... Because my first marriage, not to get into a big to-do, my first marriage can be summed up in one interaction. I'm a huge metal fan. That's why my name's Grindhead Jim. That's what it's about. We go to the mall for whatever reason, and I noticed that the new Napalm Death album was out. That's one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band of all time. And this sentence comes out of my ex-wife's mouth. We can't afford that. Get me a pretzel.
Really?
And yeah, and I was the only income we had. I was paying to put her through school at the time, right? It was like the audacity of that, right? And I was like, I gave her $10. I said, get your own damn pretzel. And I walked in and I bought the album anyway.
Sure.
You know, because that's what one does, right? And suffice it to say, obviously, that marriage didn't last much longer than that. Granted, that's not something to get divorced over, but the attitude is. And so that's why when someone like Lauren comes along and really appreciates you for you, and then vicariously appreciates what you love, even if they don't understand it, like IMJ is saying here. He says that his boss here is Hispanic and she lets me have my collection, but she, quote, doesn't understand those things, unquote. Those kinds of partners are equally as valuable. because they allow you, they afford you, I think is a better word. They afford, because it's not about permission, it's about giving space emotionally for you to have that pursuit. The same can be said for like musicians' wives and girlfriends, and woodworking enthusiasts. Like any hobby that takes up space and or makes noise or both. Those are big asks because these are physical implications on what size house you might need or want. There's sometimes there's more stress on the household in terms of how much trash you might have to mitigate, how often you might have to dust, how much time is being spent away from the family working on something. So I really think it's important to always celebrate the people that celebrate you. Whether it's each other or our partners or what have you, because no matter what the hobby, whatever you might collect, it's really important to remember those things. So, not to go off on a tangent, but I am want to do these sorts of things.
No, you know what? It's important. It's important to talk about these things. It's important to remember that again. The people in your life mean a lot, and unfortunately, not everyone's going to understand your hobby. Not everyone's going to understand. People are still there. Are a lot of people who are still hung up about the idea that you're 40 years old. Why are you playing video games? Well, you know what? You should see my toy collection.
Because I'm 40 years old. That's what my answer is. That's why.
Exactly. But not everyone's going to understand that. And you know what? A lot of I've always enjoyed, not enjoyed. Sorry, enjoy is not the right word. But I always find this statement very, very funny. People I get this all. I don't know. You must get this all the time too, Jim. Like there are people who will comment on, like Master Universe, for example. Sure. I'm always complaining. Obviously, we're all complaining about how the distribution is terrible. This, that, right? So I always get this comment, and it always makes me laugh. It always makes me laugh because it's always the same thing. They're like, if the toy, no, kids don't play with toys. No, kids don't play with any freaking toys. They should just make all toys adult collectibles, and the industry will be saved. I laugh my ass off when I hear that. I laugh. I literally have the biggest belly laugh in the entire world.
That's how you kill the industry.
Well, here's what I say to that, right? Like, and not that there was an article that came out a year ago or 2 years ago that said, oh, adults are buying more toys than kids. And to a certain degree, I understand that, and it's the biggest growing market in this industry. And I'm like, yeah, because our toys are more expensive, right? They're like if you go check out the kids section, you see the Marvel related toy. It's only like $5, $10, right? Whereas our toys are like $25, right? So there was this notion that maybe kidults will save the industry, and I always laugh at that. So one time I was challenged on it, and they're like, I guarantee you, if the industry changes over to only selling adults toys, it'll save the industry. And I laughed and I said, okay, I got a challenge for you. All right, I got a challenge for you, buddy. I got a challenge for you. Grab your favorite 4 figures and your other favorite 4 figures, right? Let's just say, grab all your Master Universe figures. Grab 4 of your Master Universe figures from the good guys and the other 4 of the bad guys. All right, grab them. Right? I dare you. I dare you to go grab them, walk across the street to your neighbor's house, knock on the door, and whoever answers the door, and hopefully it's a guy. Well, it's easier that way half the time. And then ask that person, hey, you want to play Master Universe, and see what the reaction is going to be.
That's right. That's right.
If you think that there are not that many of us, okay, like in the big scheme of things, there are not that many of us, really. Like we are a good community. We're a great community. There's like nerd culture and geek culture has really expanded over the last couple decades. The reality is, nerds are still nerds, jocks are still jocks, and there are a lot of other just normal people who don't give a fuck. So the reality is, no, switching, trying to move the goalpost from this age group to that age group is not going to work, because you will literally kill everything. And that's why independent toy makers are doing so well right now, because there is a market for it, but you have to know your market.
And that's, I think, why they've been struggling to balance both, because they know that there's both markets. Kids, because kids still do play with toys to a certain point. And I think some of that, it's like any other child-related concern one might have, I always look at the parents. Because, people complain about kids all wanting like their smart devices and their screens and whatnot. Well, guess what? You can parent your way right the hell out of that if you want to. My brother-in-law is very young, still in elementary school. Great kid, by the way. And he likes his Nintendo Switch, and he likes his toys. And both get equal play, from what I can see. And that's because my mother-in-law has limited his screen time. And he doesn't really complain. He'll ask for a little extra when he can, but he understands that's the deal. And that's fine. I think that when you make this an adult-only market, you're putting an expiration date on the whole thing. Because how do you get adult collectors? Child collectors grow up. That's what happens. So if you don't do anything to get these kids into these toys, they're never going to grow up to want them over again, right? And Origins, I think, was the perfect crossover toy. I think that may go down in history as the best adult kid crossover toy in history.
I said this same thing. I can't remember who it was that I was talking to. I think it was Michael over at Toy Habits, and I made the statement that I was like, "This is the best collector figure line ever because it's probably the only figure line you don't mind giving to your kids to play with." Now, mind you, that was when they were priced at $14. Okay, because when they were priced at $14, you could buy one for you and one for your kid, and you wouldn't even care. You wouldn't even bat an eyelash, right? Now they're upwards of $18 to $19. It gets a little bit more concerning, but at the same time, it's still okay. These versions of these Masterverse Origins toys, you can toss them across the room, and they are meant to fall apart. So it's actually a really great toy line on that sense, right? And the same thing with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossovers, these upcoming Thundercats crossovers, they are in a lot of ways meant for kids to be able to share with. And you know what? That's great.
And anyone who wants to argue that point can just go over to Mr. Home Arcade's thing about the collector and what he put that thing through. First of all, it's a hilarious video. Two, it shows just how robust these things are designed to be. You can't do that with a Masterverse figure. Same property, same company. I would not throw those in the air, spoilers, and just let them hit a parking lot. There's no way. But Origins, sure. Battle Scars. Yep.
Yep.
But Jason's Electric says something interesting here. Says, I ask people all the time about collecting toys, and most younger folks in their 20s simply can't afford it but want to.
That's interesting.
It's not on my show, I used to do, pre-orders of the week. I would say, here are the ones I think are of interest, so you're aware of them. But we had this thing about no statues, ever. And I was like, we always would ask, who the hell buys these $300, $500, $600, $700 statues? Like, people who have the money. Apparently, they wouldn't make them if they weren't selling. And I have a very close friend who's been a long-time supporter of the channel. In fact, without them, I probably would never have started live streaming in the first place. They're a statue person. They buy statues all the damn time. And it's... everything has a market if you know how to market it. Every little thing. So when, to come back around here, when we see where loyal subjects and companies like that, even Valaverse, a lot of people laughed in Bobby's face when he had this idea with Action Force. He is commanding a nice little market share there for this arguably smaller toy line. But people want it, and they get it. I have a bunch of them myself. I still haven't taken any of them out of the package. The only ones I have out of package are loose ones that were sent to me.
Yep.
I just haven't had the time to display them properly.
Sure.
But I love them. And they're great.
Yep.
But, Loyal Subjects has their things that they're doing right. You've got Ramen Toys, other companies. There's tons of stuff coming up, and people are excited for it. And I think they're going to put their money into it, which is good, because as we've been saying, these larger companies are Mattel kind of being the exception. They're pulling back a little bit. Or even Mattel's not going as ham as they were 2 years ago, which is good, because we're not inundated with, $350 to $400 worth of product that we have to buy every year, it's going down a little bit, which is probably good. But it's still there. There's still a market for it. People are still into it. And I think that when we share our love of this stuff, whether it be through media like this, or just, when I have someone over that's new or doesn't know me that well, I always take them to the toy room and be like, this can be you. And it's fun. I love that tone of, wow, I love that sound.
Yeah.
I love that sound.
There is a there are certain people who are definitely going to be appalled by what we do, but
Sure.
I find that if you made friends anywhere, right, and you're honest with them, they already
Mhm.
know what your personality is like. They'll probably figure out that you have a child nature to you. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
if they discover that, oh, you have toys as a collectible, as something, right? Half the time they're probably not going to be like, you're a freak. You know what I mean? I today again, with the Big Bang Theory and all these other geek related shows that people just adore, right? I'm just talking. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about like the pop culture
No,
behind this,
you're
right?
right.
No,
You're
I'm just
right.
talking about the pop culture behind the whole situation, right?
You
What I'm
bet.
trying to say
You
is
bet.
that geeks and nerds are no longer as ostracized as they once were. You know,
No.
like most most anime kids, and anime is prevalent pretty much everywhere now. All like most
Yeah.
kids love anime, right? There's not too many kids who at least didn't have fond memories of watching some sort of anime, right?
Sure.
Anime is the new cartoons for kids, basically. Um,
Yes.
and you're probably going to be okay with sharing some sort of relationship or some sort of like-mindedness with people of this generation now, right? Which is cool, right? People go to Dragon Con and they are mingling with other age groups. It's crazy. It is
Hmm.
actually really really crazy right now. So we're
Well,
living
like
in a golden age.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say that Retropalooza down here in Dallas Fort Worth and Houston, it always really impressed me that you would see adult collectors, fans of these shows and these properties, bringing their children, and the children
Yeah,
were engaged. They weren't
yeah,
just like, "Dad drug me to this thing."
yeah,
Anytime I would have a table and be selling toys, it was the children that would come running up like it was Christmas.
yeah.
And I tell you something, if you haven't experienced that, it is one of the coolest feelings. And they're like, "Can I touch it?" Like, here, play with it. I love
I
that. It was so cool.
I did have one. I did have no, one is not the no. I don't think one is it. But the first time really experiencing that was over at Joe Fest, and I couldn't believe it. This dad came over with his son, and
Hmm.
it was like he's like, "Oh, Megan J, could you sign this Master Universe tin?" And I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And I was talking to the dad, and the dad looked at me. It's like, don't talk to me, talk to him. And I was like, what? Like, and I go, dude, is this yours? And he's like, yeah, this is mine. And I was like, holy crap, dude. He's like, I watch you all the time. I'm like, you watch me? How old are you? He's like, I'm 10. You watch me? I was like, what the hell's going on? I was in the Twilight Zone. I was in the Twilight Zone. I said, a 10-year-old is watching me and talking about, and has a Master Universe tin for me to sign.
Hmm.
I was
Yeah.
like, all right, this is just like, what the heck? And I looked at the dad. I'm like, did you get him into this? He's like, no, he showed me your channel. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I have hope for the future. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was one of those moments.
And
I
then
was like,
it's
holy shit.
a similar thing's going on over at. You can see the evolution of like Pixel Dan's channel, where
Yeah,
his
I love
kids are
that.
being more and more prominently featured,
Yep.
where they're also collecting and they're into it, and there's a distinct line between what the kids can play with and what Dad collects, and I like that. I think it's good.
That's cool.
Um,
That's why I like
which makes
Origins.
me think about. Go ahead.
No, that's why I love Origins because you
Yeah,
can give your kids Origins and you don't care. You don't care about it.
and I think Playmates kind of knocked it out of the park with the Mutants Mayhem line
Yeah,
based on the film
one hundred
for
percent.
the same reason. And people laughed at me when I bought the playset for that, and I put my
Gigantic.
yeah, it's great,
It's
it's
gigantic.
beautiful. Now granted, it does it scale properly with the Technodrome? Of course not.
No.
but they all fit on one shelf, which is nice. But they won't anymore once this drill comes out and all this stuff.
You know, right?
But it's I always like to support innovation where I can, and the reason I bought that thing was because the price was decent. It's well made, and I didn't think for a second they would make the sewer layer again. And yet here we are. We talked about it an hour ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're making it. It's crazy. And that's probably going to be like around $100.
We are living in a golden age. We are living in a golden. Actually, golden age isn't the right word. I guess I would have to say we are living in the silver age of toys, because the golden age of toys are obviously the vintage when we grew up. Like those are the golden age of toys, right? But we are living in the silver age now. Where everything's coming back. The resurgence of these properties, and I for one feel incredibly humbled and grateful that we are now in that time where we're able to afford all of these. So
yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
So, Jim, I mean, this has been been amazing, my friend. Like, thank you for this. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for a hangout. It is,
and thank you.
It is great. And you know what? I would definitely love to chew your ear off on how we could probably save MJR Collector. I would love to keep it going. I don't want it to stop. I have ideas, and you given me a whole bunch of great ideas and some really cool insights on that. So, rest assured, it's not going downhill without me. All right, now I'm going to try my best to keep it going. But I really appreciate you introducing the whole topic and trying to keep this alive, man. I mean, like the landscape of retail is ever changing. It really is, and unfortunately, we have to navigate it as best as we can. It's
absolutely.
But I I truly will miss the days if they ever happen, and I don't think they ever will happen to the final degree. But I think everyone's going to need to always go to grocery stores. I think everyone's going to need to go do something, right? But when toys stop going to the toy aisles, I think I will truly cry, shed a tear. For that. That will be, because it's happening to video games. Video games are basically starting to dwindle right now. Like Nintendo Switch is the only thing I think on the shelves constantly anymore. Right.
Not to mention, like, they constantly push away from the physical media, which is a whole other conversation.
That's what I'm saying, right? But again, that's another conversation we have with a whole bunch of different game tubers, right? So it's where we were not even 10 years ago to where we are now. It's staggering. It's just shocking. It really is. Anyway, it's a ride, and we're going to keep riding it, Jim, until
absolutely.
It's
and I think that it would be easy for us to close out this sprawling conversation with this quote from Ian Sweeney, who just left us. He says, "Joy needs support. There's too much energy placed on antagonism." And I agree.
Wow, great quote. Because you know what, not to prolong this past it needs to be, but I'm finding right now, especially with the release of Maximum Spider, there are so many people who are against it, and I don't understand. I just don't understand. It is the figure everyone asked for. They want more articulation. They want more accessories. They want the Japanese style of figure, and they don't want to pay for it. I just don't understand the logic.
Now I understand the people that would rather it be $40.
Sure, I get that.
And my answer to that is very simple. I'd love it to be $40 too, but guess what? It isn't. So you either buy it or you don't.
Yeah.
And then when the figure comes out, the people that bought it are either going to have egg on their face or be laughing all the way to the bank.
But what really kills me... Yeah, exactly. No, sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to cut you, but what really kills me is that because it's sold out, they're upset. I don't understand. What are you upset? What are you upset with? What is it that's upsetting you? And of course, it all comes down to money, right? It's always now they're going to charge us for the rest of the time. It's like, no, they won't. They won't charge that. It's impossible, because how many accessories? He comes with 26 accessories.
Yep.
On average, how many accessories come with Marvel Legends figures right now? 3. On average, 3 accessories per figure. Okay, so calm down. All right, it's not like we're not gonna lose the $24 figures. As a matter of fact, they just announced a whole bunch of Gamerverse figures about to be dropped. Right, we're gonna get as many Spider-Man as we can. We have like 16 coming now. I mean, like it's okay. Right, and what's going to happen with this Maximum Spider? You know what? I've gone on record to say this. What's going to happen is this mold is going to be reused by a whole bunch of stuff, and that's fine. But what's going to
Yep.
happen is they're going to take away all the accessories, save 3 or 4, and it's going to drop to like at most $30, which is
Yep. This is going to see a retro card release down the line,
yeah,
and they'll call it like the Bagley edition or something.
exactly, or some other
You know.
BS like that.
Right.
But you know what? This is the cyclical nature of toys. Toys need to improve. Toys need to get like it is the difference between Japanese toys and American toys, right? It is that situation, right? They need to evolve, right? Just like the way we went from 3 3/4 inches to 4 inches to 6 inches. Why? Because our hands got bigger, right? That's the reason that happened.
And it was also a cheaper way to get more detail into the figures because you
There
make
you
it
go.
bigger, it's easier to sculpt, and all these things with engineering.
Yep.
But I really enjoyed this
Absolutely.
in a big way, and I would like to do this again sometime,
Anytime.
sooner rather than later.
Anytime, Jim. I'm always happy to jump on Jim Grindhead Jim's channel. This has been an incredible opportunity for me, and I jumped on it as soon as Jim said, "Let's get on the line." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Let's get on the line." I would definitely love to be on Grindhead Jim's live stream. Absolutely. So thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much as well, and thank everyone who's watching, whether you're on my channel or over there on Jay's channel. It's been a great time, and we'll see you all again. So
yeah, guys, please subscribe to Grindhead Jim on YouTube if you haven't already,
and subscribe to him. Both channels.
I'll teleport back to Texas so we can do this again.
That's perfect. It's perfect. I like it when your hand's on my shoulder.
Absolutely.
Good. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We're out of here. Have a great one.